Infinity. Oh, I'm sorry. My mic was live. That's my bad. You all caught me describing the amount that I love and appreciate all of you. Sorry, that's so embarrassing. I didn't mean to say that with the mic on. How's everyone doing? Hmm, chapped lips. That good, huh? Whew. You should talk to Aristocracy about Israel-Palestine. I believe we're having Dylan Burns on today, in an hour, in fact. Though I'm not entirely sure about that. I have tentative confirmation. Um, how's everyone doing? Yeah, we trust Dylan. We're Dylanites over here. We trust. We believe. How's everyone doing? Good enough? Okay. Finally got around to watching the first 2 episodes of Invincible. No spoilers, but I can't really be spoiled. I'm halfway through the comic, which probably extends well beyond where the animation is right now. Though there are differences between the comic and the animation. Um. Anyway, it was good. It's good. It's good. It was pretty good, you know? Without spoiling, that scene with Omni-Man, the other dimension, whew, that was very well constructed. People in Eris's chat were saying your view on Israel was reductive. Yeah, that's the thing. Ooh, let's not say anything mean to begin with. Let's begin without saying anything mean about anyone or any ideas or any concepts. I got my first dose of the vaccine today. Are you American? And you're only just now getting the first dose? Which state are you in? Huh. Well, I played Watch Dogs 2? God, no. Isn't that a Ubisoft game? Fuck Ubisoft. Who unironically plays Ubisoft games? Ubisoft. Not good enough. Not for me. Okay? Yeah, fuck Ubisoft. More like Pubisoft. Because they're shit. I'm a whore for Assassin's Creed. That's not good. You gotta get better standards, my dude. That's not good. Fuck, we've got so much to talk about. We have so much to talk about, and we're gonna have to talk about it fast too, because I slept like dog shit. I mean, I went to bed at like 3:30 a.m. last night, and I just kept waking up over and over and over. Just stream the Artemy video in DMs. That's a good way to start off. Yeah, take a look. Bosh, you should really clarify your position on Israel-Palestine. I feel like my position is actually super duper clear. I feel like at this point, the only people who would conflate or confuse it are probably people acting in bad faith, you know? Um, I don't know how much clearer I can be about it, but we're going to talk about it more today. So, Denims has been stunlocked watching a video with the MRI guy for the last 2 hours. Lamau, good. It's good content. That conversation was wild. I'm pretty sure that dude is alt-right adjacent. By the way, it turns out he went on the bus with Baked Alaska for a while. The MRA dude that we talked to, the Baked Alaska being that crazy, the alt-righter who had the videos of him harassing like random people in the street. You know. I'm glad I had the convo though. I like convos that deviate from my expectations a little bit. You know, I feel like sometimes we're falling into a dialogue tree. Um, why didn't you smoke weed to fall back asleep? I'm trying to smoke weed less. You know. Your chat defends Israel by saying it's just the IDF who's at fault. Most Israelis support the IDF. It's cringe as fuck. We need to talk about. Are you ready? We need to talk about. Okay, power. Actually, that's what we'll talk about first. We're going to talk about power. Hold on, really, really quickly, okay? That's what we're going to talk about. And by power, of course, I am referring to the star Chainsaw Man character. No, hold on. Hold up. Oh, that's wonderful. One Twitter search gave me the 2 little videos that I was looking for. Let's do that, okay? Every time you have some tremendous geopolitical conflict, the low IQ individuals in our community and in the world at large rush to find blame. That's the first thing they do. It's the only thing they care about. Who's to blame, you know? I find this to be a considerably unhelpful lens of analysis for issues as large as this. Let's take for example a George Floyd. No better example could be found. Was it not the conservatives who were obsessed with ignoring systemic solutions, systemic conversations, in favor of the same mantra? George Floyd shouldn't have done this. George Floyd shouldn't have done that. If he didn't want to die, then why did he do X? Why did he do Y? Why did he? Individual blame, individual responsibility. Okay? So when you take something as complicated, and geopolitically, historically, contextually, the Israel-Palestine situation is complicated. I find it very morally uncomplicated, but in terms of the actual finagly details, it's quite complicated. How do you solve a problem like that? Well, I'll tell you this much, okay? Finding blame is not, okay? Blame is not what you need to be looking for here. What you need to be looking for is what needs to be done to solve the problem. What do you do? What direction do you move in? What are the key working parts that you can adjust and alter to find an amicable solution? And what is that solution? I mean, what are we pushing for? 2 state, 1 state, no state? Let's be realistic here, okay? No state? I'm sorry, anarchists. I love you. Not going to happen anytime soon. A lot of moving parts to this one. Not moving quite to that one just yet, okay? 1 state? You know, like the idea. A coalition government, maybe, fair and equal, political power that allows them to collectively make decisions responsible for the welfare of Palestinian and Israeli citizens. That's going to be pretty tough to pull off. There's a lot of bad blood down there. 2-state solution feels like that's the most likely immediate, and then maybe from there we can move to something better. A 2-state solution is an imperfect solution, but it also seems like the one closest to us at the moment, you know? Maybe that changes with time. Maybe something happens, more politicians are elected, something happens, and the conditions change, and a 1-state solution becomes more possible. It becomes more likely. Great. Well, sure. Let's say a 2-state solution is what we're gunning for right now, okay? How do we do that? Well, I'll tell you, blame's not how you settle it. I care about finding out who needs to act. And in this case, and this is the position I've held for a long time, the key to peace between Israel and Palestine lies with Israel. I want to show you a video and a picture really quick. I think that'll sum it up real nice, okay? Real nice like. So, over here, Israel, I don't know why I said over here. I'm not in Israel. What we're looking at right now is a missile defense system. It's called the Iron Dome. Did anyone see videos of this that were used? The video of the Iron Dome intercepting the rockets being fired? This is some insane tech. This is, take aside all the geopolitics, it's incredibly cool, okay? Yeah, it's like some anime bullshit, okay? It's some kaiju Evangelion mecha shit, you know? The fucking... The Angels fucking biomissiles are launching at Tokyo 3. Fire the... Yeah, okay. Besides all of that, it requires U.S. funding to keep it going. Oh, I bet. Those systems don't come cheap, buddy. It's a powerful system, you know? And extremely cool. But most importantly, a powerful system, okay? Now, I want you to imagine all the time, resources, and wealth it takes to maintain the existence of something this powerful, okay? And now I want to take a look at this. You probably saw Hassan tweet it, but I want you to take a look at this. Did it go away? Oh, wait, here's the video. Look at this. They intercept the rockets. It's like unbelievable, but it's sci-fi. It's sci-fi is what it is. Like I said, I mean, an enormous amount of power and wealth goes into maintaining a system like that. Now, I had the video up, and of course, Twitter being the dog shit that it is, as soon as I switch to it, it changes. So let me find the thing. 1 second. Now, that right there, it doesn't intercept all the rocket stuff? No, of course it can't intercept all the rockets. It's not a perfect system, but it is a very impressive system maintained by an incredible military-industrial apparatus. Now, here's somebody in Gaza. They do not have an Iron Dome. They just die. Some people will say I'm being a little bit reductive here. And the answer to that is fuck you. If you think there's any parallel between what's happening to Israel and what's happening to Palestine, then you're a piece of shit. You can't really get around that. This is not a parallel issue. This is not an equation where if you solve for both sides, you arrive at an equal value on either end of the equal sign. It's not. Look, what's been happening to the Palestinian people for the past century or so? Their territory recedes. Israel acts in violation of international law. They take territory bit by bit. Settlements are moved forward. Walls pushed forward. The IDF and security forces are used to enforce territorial acquisition. Slowly, bit by bit, the Palestinian people get crammed into what is essentially an open-air prison. Israel controls their water, the supply lines in and out. They have an enormous amount of control over essentially every aspect of Palestinian life. In Gaza, we are talking about an unbelievable level of control over an ostensibly independent, hypothetically independent group of people, not Israeli citizens, after all. And under circumstances such as these, the settlements aren't in Gaza. No. The broader project of engaging in settlements, but the act of the erasure of Palestinian power has been taking place all over the region. And this is not just the opinion of crazy lefties either. I mean, for the most part, the United Nations has been pretty specific in its condemnation of Israel's behavior. When it comes to support for Israel around the world, I mean, it's pretty much Israel and America. Those are the two big dogs. And beyond that, most countries are pretty critical of what Israel's doing. It varies, of course. And just because not every country, but just because many countries but America condemn Israel doesn't in and of itself mean anything. I would never rely on the moral judgment of nation states to arrive at my decisions on matters like this. But that's to say, it's not some crazy fringe lefty position. It's something a lot of people believe. And when you're talking about an imbalance in power, an imbalance in support, an imbalance in capability like this, who really... Yeah, I see somebody in chat wants to speak to me. I don't care. Why do you keep informing? Oh my God, chill. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, I get emails all the time. You can email me if you want, so I can say no to you over email. Waste my time by having me type for 6 seconds. No, I don't care. Jesus. When you have a power imbalance this severe, it seems to me like Israel is the entity that has the capability of meaningfully affecting change in the region, of meaningfully bringing about peace. We know this because we're all woke on the BLM stuff, aren't we? I would hope so. The people watching me right here. Is there conflict between inner city majority black gangs and police? Yes. Do some police officers die to those majority black inner city gangs? Yes. Yeah, that happens. Is it on the gangs to reform our criminal justice system? Is that on them? It's like, look at this back and forth conflict between these two groups. What if only the Crips and the Bloods could pass the legal precedent necessary to reform qualified immunity? You know, maybe it's not good. Hearts and prayers for everyone involved, but just, man, the Crips and the Bloods lawyers, they have just been dropping the ball lately. They have not been sufficiently bringing about systemic change. No, of course not. It's the responsibility of the police. It's the responsibility of our politicians. It's the responsibility of the agents of the state, because even if there is antagonism on both sides, the gangs are utterly powerless at solving a situation like this. Now, I ask you, what exactly could the Palestinians do to stop Israel from continuing to conquer their people, deny them basic human rights? What could the Palestinians do? Exactly. Well, they don't have any military recourse. There's nothing. For all of the terror of Hamas, and Hamas is a dog shit organization, they can't do anything. Absolutely nothing. Hamas bragged about sending a couple hundred of their little rockets into Israel the other day. Like, that was their great retaliation. Israel could flatten territories within Palestine. They have that. They could just level. Palestinians can't do that to Israel. And there's genocidal rhetoric on both sides. There are people in high positions in the Israeli government, including Netanyahu, who have either outright stated or very, very, very clearly implied that they were gunning not only for safety of Israeli people, but also for the eradication of, the Arab population, to deny them not only rights, but to push them out, to just remove them. Genocidal rhetoric exists on both sides, and it's bad on both sides, but only one of those two entities actually has the power to do it. The Palestinians don't. And what are the Palestinians supposed to do exactly? Do they concede? Do the Palestinians, they go like, oh, we'll be peaceful now. So what happens then? Does Israel stop conquering them? No. What does that change for the Palestinian people? What does it make things a little cleaner? Fewer headlines? While the slow systemic eradication of their people takes place? No. Israel is the one responsible for ameliorating this situation. And you know how I know this? Because anytime this is brought up, people who defend Israel's actions in the Middle East engage in the most insane reaching you will ever see. They fucking stretch Armstrong across the world, okay? And they ignore the question and they start talking about the broader philosophical issue of defending their people. Mate, Israel is already defended. America protects Israel. It's defended. Israel will be fine. You've angered all your neighbors, and there will be antagonism, but you are not going to be eradicated. You are as protected as you can be militarily. That is not going to change the continued elimination of the Palestinian people. You ask this, you say, hey, don't you think Israel could sue for peace? What could we do? Maybe stop taking over their lands, maybe give them more rights, maybe allow them to vote, maybe stop cutting off trade routes into their lands, maybe give them control over their own water and electricity, maybe. And they'll say, why do you want Israel to concede to those who want to destroy it? Have you seen this conversation go over and over and over again? This is familiar to all of you, yes? It's the logic of ethno-nationalism. It's the same thing white nationalists say, in fact. White nationalists will say they do what they do, they say what they say, because they want to protect white people, a minority dying out, whatever. And if you challenge them on any of their batshit insane points, just anything really, they go to the same whiny non-answers. They go to, why do you hate white people? Why do you want white people to be destroyed? Why do you hate white people trying to defend their culture? Why don't white people have the right to exist, etc., etc., over and over? The logic of ethno-nationalism is not a logic. It's a dialogue tree. Not a particularly impressive one at that, a wilted dialogue tree with few branches. So, the reason why I started talking about all of this is because somebody in chat suggested that Israeli citizens are in part responsible for what is taking place right now. And, I mean, given that Israel is ostensibly a democracy, this is true to an extent. But I would be very careful. In fact, I outright reject the premise of blaming citizens for succumbing to the propaganda of their government. This, to me, is an incredibly dangerous road to run down, okay? Now, it is true. Demographically, if you take a look at the way Israel responds to polls and surveys, they have some reprehensible views on the Palestinian people. I think it was something like 50% or so of young people, like Gen Zers, don't believe Arabs should be able to vote in Israel. That's the young generation. I mean, the country is a far-right hellhole. It is. But ultimately, why do those kids believe that? Did it simply sprout from their minds, fully formed as infants? They just the gift of ethno-nationalism flowering in their cerebral cortex. No, of course not. The state told them, their parents told them, and the state told those parents. They're indoctrinated. Same as the people here in America. It's the same reason why I don't buy this whole fuck the red states, fuck Republicans, let them rot. I don't buy this. Okay? This sounds hackneyed, but it's true. Quite a bit of sympathy for people who have been pushed into a position in life where they buy into the horse shit that you need to believe to do the sort of things that Zionists do, or that Republicans do, or that what have you and whatever do. It's very basic sociological analysis. I mean, do we not all succumb to this? And let's be fair. Are there not Palestinians who have, through external pressures, been pushed to horrible ideas? Like Hamas, which is not a great group when it comes to defending Palestinian people or bringing about peace? Are there not groups in the Middle East who have succumbed to this as well? ISIS? Nobody is born with the ISIS gene in their brain, after all. You're born, you see your family and your friends die to American drone strikes, you see people starve to death due to sanctions, and you wonder, maybe if I burned a bunch of innocent civilians alive, maybe this will all go away. Silly thought. But something had to happen in their brains and in their lives for them to arrive at those positions, no? I mean, it didn't just happen. This happened all over the place. From gangs in the American inner city to the horrible police officers who wreak havoc in those communities, to Nazi soldiers, to members of the Soviet Secret Service, to Stalin himself. We're all susceptible to the systems that we're born into. So blame means nothing. Individual condemnations mean nothing. The only things that mean anything in this world are systemic solutions. And for that, you need people who can affect the system. Can Palestine affect the system? The Palestinian people have the ability to fundamentally change and alter and reconstruct the terms of engagement with Israel? Do they have any bargaining power? Do they have any leverage? Do they have a seat at the table? No, no, no. No, no, no. No, not really. Some marginal amount, maybe. For the most part, it's Israel. Now, that's not to say, of course, that if Israel just throws their hands up in the air and goes, oh, we won't be mean anymore, that everything would be fine. Of course not. It's not going to happen. It's going to take a very long time. Exactly the same as police and gangs in America. You don't just instantly solve the problem by, say, getting rid of qualified immunity, but you set us on the path. You move us in the direction. You push in a place better than Palestinians can on their own. Does anybody disagree with any of this? We're done rambling. Look, this is my bid for peace. This is my John Lennon's Imagine, okay? I want people to focus on sociological understanding. Who has the power to change X or Y? Who has the ability to change the situations in which we live? And if they don't have the ability, then why even bother talking about them, really? People are relevant to the extent to which they have the ability to effect change. How could those imagine, yeah. Until Islamofascists are in charge in Gaza, peace is impossible? What? I think you might have thrown a couple of typos into that statement because it seems a little internally contradictory. I don't like fascism. Islamo or otherwise. We've been adding quite a few people to our ban list on account of the content of the past few days. Perfectly fine by me. I really don't think this issue is very morally complicated. If you're even vanishingly familiar with the past half century of political action in that part of the world, it's pretty clear who the victim and who the victor is. Just, yeah. Good info about the mode of oppression the Palestinians are deferred to. Let me see. I'm always wary of infographics. Let me see. You say the source is visualizing Palestine so close yet so far. Let's see. Let me just see if we can confirm the legitimacy of these. What is this? This is a video? Description? Sources and data. Okay, give me the sources and data. Hold on, let's confirm Marino. It's a Google Doc. Okay. A little, all right. Okay. You can also use this. Yes, please. Something from amnesty.org is, Okay, here we go. I think this affirms some of the things in this graph. Some people are more equal than others. 6.6 million Jewish Israelis, free to live throughout Israel and most of West Bank. 12.7 million Palestinians, barred from committees from living in about 68% of towns in Israel. East Jerusalem Palestinians, Israel may revoke residency if living outside Jerusalem. Hey. Israel controls the land, air, and sea. Segregated road system. This would be impossible for me to fact check on the fly. But what an impressive graph. Where the color of your license plate dictates which roads you can drive on. Some roads are barred to Palestinians. Jesus. Not enough water in the West Bank. Ramallah has more annual rainfall than London. Really? Huh. 70 liters per day per Palestinian in the West Bank. 300 liters per day per Israeli, including settlers. The WHO recommends 100 liters a day. So, of a significant amount of rainfall is being diverted towards Israeli settlers, and a very small amount is going towards the Palestinians in the West Bank. Wow. Are you saying we should pressure Israel to chill the fuck out? If so, what forms of pressure should we use? If not, what course of action instead? We need to cut military aid to Israel. We need to drop this charade, okay? We need to absolutely stop this. The only reason we support Israel is A, to fulfill some sort of evangelical doomsday cult bullshit, and B, because we want a military base in the region. It's having devastating effects on the regional geopolitical climate, and frankly, the only reason why the Israeli government feels comfortable getting away with the shit it does is because they know we're backing them. They would have to actually play diplomacy if it weren't for our support. Because they don't have to. Right now, Israel doesn't have to give a shit about diplomacy. Why would they? They have the biggest gun in the region. They have the orbital laser cannon that is the United States. They don't have to do diplomacy. Bosh, Israel needs the Iron Dome. The only reason they built the Iron Dome is because they're so bad at diplomacy that they cultivated the relationship with their neighbors that led to them needing to build the Iron Dome, okay? You can't blame them for that. Don't buy their conservative propaganda. Over here in America, imagine if it's like 1820 and we keep getting raided by Native American raiding parties, and we're like, the only way to stop this is to build a giant electric picket fence, and then you're like, this costs $1 trillion a year to maintain. Why don't we drop it? And they're like, well, we need it. They're mad at us. Like, can we make them not mad at us? No. No. What could we have done to the Native Americans to prevent them from being mad at us in the 1820? Yeah. But the Iron Dome will still be important because there's shit diplomacy, then you know what? They can drop funding somewhere else. I don't think that Israel is entitled to American military aid, okay? Especially since Israel's killing more people than other people are killing Israelis. We're not saving lives by prolonging the situation. It's like, oh, America withdraws military aid and they have to drop the Iron Dome and more people die. Well, more people are dying now because of the diplomatic situation that we facilitate. It just happens to be Palestinian people, so we don't care as much. Because it's less relevant, because it's less interesting to us, because they're not citizens in our global periphery. What if we only help with the Iron Dome and make the aid conditional on diplomacy? That could work, yeah. Yeah, that could work. I think there are ways by which something like that could work, sure. How's Israel supposed to negotiate with Hamas? They have destruction of all Jews in their charter. You don't negotiate with Hamas. You say, we're going to be entering a period of compromise and detente, and the support for Hamas will drop precipitously because the only reason Hamas has support is because Palestinian people feel as though Hamas are the only avenue they have to prevent an ethnic genocide. Additionally, I'm pretty sure Hamas has said they'd be willing to accept a two-state solution if you return to 1967 borders. So, you fix the conditions. Here's a source on the road segregation from an Israeli source that was brought up as a traitor org yesterday. Oh my god. Jesus. We'll take a look at the data in a little bit. I feel like this segment's already running long. We're going to talk to Dylan soon, I think, anyway. What is this? There's only one right. Oh, this was just posted by the idea. Does anyone think it's a little bit weird? Jesus. Hmm? Uh-huh. Damn, dog. You're actually gonna include, is this real footage of a strike? Is this a meme? This is the IDF's Twitter page. Is that a real image? I'm not a military contractor. I can't tell if it's a real. Yeah, is this TikTok propaganda? They do this all the time? Yeah. Because the Israeli military industrial complex, I feel like, controls a ton of their. This is what I mean by no diplomacy. They're the ones who control all the fucking propaganda shit they do, you know? All right. That's enough. That's enough. All right, what are the memes? Where's the drama at? Or Destiny trying to get my attention some more. What about this? People are saying you're unironically pro-Hamas. Yeah, that's from a video 1 year ago. Since then, I've changed my mind following new information, and I'm not. And that's why every time I mention Hamas now, I make it really clear I don't support them. Hamas has this constant seesawing back and forth, or at least it has, where they shift focus between radical, like, anti-Semitic rhetoric and like trying to play the diplomat a little bit more from time to time. And I had only one half the picture back a year ago, but yeah. And then let's see. What's the drama meme? Waiting, this from Destiny. Waiting for the Vosh arc where he explains Sunni oppression under al-Malik in Iraq actually justifies the operation of ISIS. Damn. He's really trying to bait a debate out of me. Holy shit. Nice meme. I like me too. I'd also be trying to get my attention. Can you please flame Barry Weiss's article that went viral recently? I'm always down to flame Barry Weiss. Can you link the article? That article is weird. It's a Barry Weiss article. Can you link it? I haven't seen it. I think I saw people talking about it a little while ago. Oh shit, we got to talk about Ben Shapiro. Oh yeah, we're gonna have Dylan Burns on soon, I think. Barry Weiss, the bad optics. Oh yeah, I saw this. Oh shit. Uh-oh. Bosh, remember when you said Destiny would suddenly change position on Israel if he thought leftists approved it? Looks like you were right. Yeah, of course, 100%. Destiny can't be. If you look at his Twitter account, it's just him mauling about lefties. Like, it's not even. that's not... Oh, shit. Then I'm saying you love. She was watching you talk with Dylan Voke. You were canceled many times on that stream. I did fine in that debate. Not even a debate, conversation. I just liked the yes ending. What are we at? The bad optics of fighting for your life. When it comes to Israel, memes have replaced morality. I am writing to you from the waiting room of my fertility clinic. Getting pregnant when you are gay is not so romantic, so we try to do little things. I can't do the life story shit. What are we talking about here? It appears that standing up for the right of innocent people to protect themselves from a genocidal terrorist organization has become extremely risky to one's brand. Yeah, I agree. I got banned from Twitch for being pro-Palestine. And so lies have replaced truth. Memes have replaced morality. Hashtags have replaced history. I am speaking, of course, about Israel. In the past 48 hours, according to the IDF, more than 1,500 rockets have rained down on Israeli cities. These rockets are being launched by Palestinian Islamic Jihad and by Hamas, which has controlled the Gaza Strip since Israel unilaterally withdrew from it and forcibly evacuated every last Jewish resident from the territory in 2005. Imagine how it must have felt, Israelis giving up territory. God, that must have been hard for them. Israelis have gotten used to living life in a kind of perpetual war. Imagine how Palestinians feel. See, Israelis get to pretend that it's a war. Palestinians know it's a slaughter. Just the language reveals this attitude right here. If you go to a fucking West Bank and talk to a Palestinian, they're not going to be like, yeah, we're at war with Israel. Yeah, gotta fight to defend freedom. No, they're just slowly being rolled over. It's On Tuesday, Nelly was on call with a journalist in Tel Aviv who abruptly hung up because the siren started wailing. A friend sent a photo of his mother crouched in a bomb shelter. All okay, he said. Friends across the country told me about huddling with their crying children in safe rooms. It's fine, they insisted. But living like this is not fine. And then, of course, we get just a video of a rocket hitting Israel and not the shit in Gaza. It will never be fine to have children killed by terrorists whose explicit aim is to kill them. This is Barry Weiss basically went conservative, right? Barry Weiss is one of those like skeptic, enlightened centrist, I'll only attack the left and defend the right type dealios, right? That's where Barry Weiss is at currently. And I believe so. Yeah, intellectual dark web dumb fuck. I remember reading an article about how she slipped, you know? Certainly not the first time this has happened, but this time is different. There are more rockets being fired from Gaza than at any time in memory. Some are landing, killing, or maiming Israeli citizens. The Iron Dome is astonishing, but it is imperfect, and it is the only thing standing between civilians and shrapnel. This is this just like a crybaby piece? Like cry, cry, whine, whine? I can't take any of this shit seriously unless it recognizes what's happening to the Palestinian people as well. This is like, can you imagine if you were like, somebody like talking about the harrowing experience of being a police officer and how many of their cops died and how I was a wife to a cop and they came home one day shaking because of how hard it was to kill the kid they shot who had a BB gun or something. Like, this is not an accurate reflection of the totality of shit that's going on down there. Yeah, no, it's just boring as fuck, okay? I can't. It's so boring. The writing style is fucking insufferable. Yeah, maybe that's why she was let go by the New York Times. Just so we have this straight, a country should accept a terrorist group launching deadly rockets at its civilian population because a comedian thinks the terror group won't win? Is Barry Weiss implying that the Palestinian people actually have a chance at defeating Israel if they actually tried? Wait, is she implying that Israel is actually under some kind of systemic threat? If there were no Iron Dome and more Israelis were killed by Hamas, would it be okay with the noted military strategist Trevor Noah? Ah, she's mad. For Israel to try to stop the rocket attacks? How many dead Israel? Hey guys, has launching a war of terror on the Palestinian people lowered the amount of rocket attacks Israel has experienced over the past 50 years? No? Has it increased it? It's almost like, damn, just like over-policing black neighborhoods leads to more crime? Really makes you wonder about what their actual goals are with this. How many dead Israelis are necessary for a response to be okay? Did anyone have the temerity to tell America we shouldn't go after the Taliban or hunt Osama bin Laden after 9/11 because they had no realistic chance of destroying America? Wait, that's actually an extremely interesting comparison. Because after 9/11, sure, going after Osama bin Laden could be considered valid. Then why did we invade Iraq? Because that's what Israel's doing. Why would you make the 9/11 comparison when the 9/11 comparison was literally an example of millions of people dying because the American government used terrorist attacks as a justification to inflict exponentially more harm with their own military force? Why would you ever ever invoke 9/11 as a positive example for future anti-terrorist action. Oh my God. Why would you? She edited this. I assume we reread our drafts before submitting them to Substack, right? I imagine that's a thing we do. Christ. I just skimmed over this paragraph, and the only thing I saw was woke congressman. Nice meme. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what to say about this. It's like a propaganda puff piece. There's not really much worth or value to it. Let me see. Here's a spicy bit from the article. Uh-oh. What? I can't deal with this. The result of this mess, as always, are especially bad for the Palestinians who live under Hamas rule. Casualty reports are hard to verify because Hamas controls the media, even the international press. What? Inside the Gaza Strip? Okay, I don't actually have a counterfactual to this, but I sincerely doubt Hamas controls the international press present inside the Gaza Strip. That's just a guess on my part. I admit I could be wrong, but it appears more than 50 Palestinians have been killed. Some of these people are entirely innocent non-combatants, including children. This is an unspeakable tragedy. It is also one of the unavoidable burdens of political power, of Zionism's dream to turn into the reality of self-determination. Well, see, this is pro-genocidal rhetoric right here. Can you imagine this being written in, like, a fucking Mein Kampf right here? Ah, yes, many Polish people died, sure, but that's one of the unavoidable burdens of political power, of, the Lebensraum's dreams of, yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. Oh my God. I see nothing, nothing you could do. Sometimes, you just, you said terrorist attacks, a couple dozen kids die, whatever, nothing you can do. It's all part of the dream. Can you do a quick explainer on why Hamas isn't great? It seems to me like they're the only thing between Palestine and total annihilation. Oh yeah, that's super, super easy. Okay, all right, here are a couple of things. First of all, a bunch of people in Hamas are unironically full-on anti-Semitic genocidal lunatics, okay? They don't have the power to enact that genocide, but yeah. Second of all, they use civilians as shields all the time, constantly, nonstop. They fire their rockets from populated areas so that when Israel retaliates, it looks bad for Israel because they attack that. They're reactionary, they're conservative, they're fundamentalist, yeah, all that stuff. They're bad at representing the interests of the Palestinian people. They're corrupt. They're not a good representation of the will of the Palestinian people. And they're also, I'm pretty sure they also have a lot of political ties to, like, neighboring Muslim countries as well. Like, they're not just in it for the Palestinian people. They're also there as a kind of front for I forget the country. Is it Iran? Would it be Iran? Iran makes the most sense, I think. Yeah. They have ties to Jordan and Lebanon too. Yeah, because it's like a proxy anti-Israel organization. What action should Israel take to stop the conflict while ensuring no deaths of their citizens and ensuring a good future for Palestinian people? Jesus, why don't you ask me for the solution to cold fusion while you're at it? Fuck. Solve the problem, no more deaths, no more hatred, that's a tall order right there. Yeah. Time travel, maybe? Jesus. Didn't you once say you'd come up for a solution? Coming up with a solution, more like coming up with the best arguments I can find for a good
just
path
to get
forward.
a plea deal.
And a solution
what
doesn't
would
mean
Greenberg
no deaths,
have to
no
offer?
more problems. A solution would mean, like,
Greenberg has to tell federal prosecutors everything he knows, everything he knows about anything he...
Stop! God, I fucking hate... I hate news sites so much. Why do they always autoplay? Why? 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 Why do they always autoplay? It's always something. They auto-scroll. They autoplay. When you scroll down to the article, the video at the top ends up getting put in the bottom right. Think, news sites! Think! If somebody came to your website for a quick brief on any political issue, why would they stick around for both the article and the video content? All right, sorry. I had to throw that one in there. Every time I shout now, I get reminded of that scene, which I still haven't come up on in the show, by the way. I just saw it because everyone's seen it. It's a meme, you know. It's getting memed around. Bosch, the only thing is that Hamas has the only power Palestinians have. So if that gets stripped away, it means Palestinians no longer have the power to defend themselves. Hamas is literally a defensive force. Nah, it's the opposite. Hamas actually makes it easier for Israel to justify their conquest of the Palestinian people. As long as one of the loudest voices coming from the Palestinian people is a pretty overtly genocidal anti-Semitic org that uses human shields, it makes the Palestinian people look monstrous themselves. Now, geopolitics, sociological, blah, 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 you know, but Hamas does not defend the Palestinian people. Like, I don't think their participation, their rocket firing, does even an iota of shit to push back, you know? Or forestall what's happening. Why is nobody talking about Fatah? Palestine's leader is from Fatah because they're not as relevant as Hamas, because Hamas fires rockets. You want people to pay attention to you, you fire rockets. Even if it does a lot of harm, firing rockets is very attention-grabbing. So that's why. You know, that's why people talk about Hamas more. Oh, I slept so badly. Oh my god. I feel sick. I'm getting my second shot tomorrow, too. I'd better be ready. How should Palestinians defend themselves? If you want Palestinians to defend themselves, then they should take the exact same tactics as the BLM protesters. You form shield walls, you get cameras on those shield walls, you don't throw the first punch, and you wait for Israel to kill all of you so that it makes headlines. Unfortunately, that's pretty much what they have. Because they're not going to be able to fight back with military power. I'm sorry, but that, yeah. Now, that does happen. And we still haven't seen systemic change in the U.S., Vosh. I'm sorry, wait. Do we have unironic pro-Hamas? Are there actually people in here who think firing a bunch of bottle rockets at Israel and killing a dozen civilians every 2 years does anything to further peace? Do you people stop? Yeah, okay, we get it, okay? It's hard. These solutions are difficult. No, linking hands under a shield wall is not going to instantly solve the Middle East, okay? Stop. We get it. It's not a perfect solution, all right? But holy shit, no. The Hamas is not, no, it's not doing any good for the region, okay? Jesus. These do not become the stereotype that Destiny's community is going to push on us after all this. Yeah, Hamas does some weird oppressive shit within Palestinians as well. It's not even... You definitely have pro-Hamas people in your community. Well, 1 year ago, I was kind of lightly pro-Hamas because back then my understanding of geopolitics was a lot simpler. But now I've had the tanky arc. Back then, you know, pro-Hamas, not IDF, the IRA, you know, any terrorist org fighting for an oppressed people, whatever. Yeah, fight back the oppressors. Unfortunately, now I have come to reckon with the truth that Zionists need to reckon with as well, which is that a group of people can be oppressed and also do bad things against their oppressor in ways that are counterproductive to the broader situation. IRA good, though? No, we'll have that conversation later. Though Hamas is quite a bit worse than IRA. We'll have that conversation later, okay? I can only handle so much at a time. How come you're wearing the same shirt as yesterday? Because I work from home. What do you want from me? Even if your computer has Hamas supporters, Destiny's has genocide deniers. In one of those subreddit links that you gave, a upvoted post from a Destiny fan said that I was reflecting pro-Hamas genocidal language by saying that what was happening to the Palestinian people was a genocide. The person in that post described what was happening as just a few evictions. That's what they said was happening to the Palestinian people. So when we're talking about the respective moral worth of our communities, sticking it to the lefties. Hey, that's what I say. All right, let me does Hamas really use civilians as human shields? Yes, 100%. Yes, absolutely. Yes. All right, how about we take a short break from hold on. We're supposed to have Dylan on soon. Oh, if you're enjoying the stream, by the way, make sure you sub. Get in there, people. Subscribe to the channel. You know you want to. All the fresh drama, the hottest takes. Yeah, get in there. Yeah. Oh, well, let's take a brief reprieve and look at very quickly at this video of my cat.
Artemy.
Wait, hold on.
Artemy. What are we talking about? Hmm? Artemy. Yeah? Artemy. Yeah? Puppy.
Extremely good baby. Why is this in Windows Media Player? It's in VLC. It has the little orange traffic cone. Which I assume everyone uses, right? Yeah, he was screaming all morning. It'd be nice for you to talk about the IRA. A lot of your fans are dumb fucks about it. It'd be really annoying if you're Irish. Some fans think everything the IRA did was good. Some things everything the IRA was all bad, so it's just really annoying. The IRA shit, from what I've read, is actually fairly complicated. The problem is the default lefty position for a lot of these issues is to be pro, like, anti-oppressor. That's a good default position, you know. And since there's nothing principally wrong with violence, it's about the outcomes affected. I mean, arresting a murderer is a form of violence. You're using the threat of the state power to arrest them. That's a defensible use of violence. So was, I don't know, the American Revolution. Whatever. Yeah. So if you believe A, that you should generally side with the oppressed, and B, that violence is not in and of itself a bad thing, it's the outcomes of the violence, the ways in which it's used, then you can fall in line with reflexively defending a lot of like emancipatory terrorist groups. And unfortunately, there's a lot of nuance to stuff like that. Hamas is pretty fucking bad. IRA is more complicated, but they've done stuff that's fairly indefensible, in my opinion. But I would want to read up more on it before talking about it because I only half remember the shit that I read like a long time ago. And yeah, prefer to read up and, you know, try my best. Need to stop platforming Artemis' fascist rhetoric. Yeah. IRA car bombing the areas they want to liberate was what they've done wrong, right? You know, as a general rule, I really, really don't like targeting civilians. Just as just a general opinion that I have on these issues. You know, personal. There were good and bad fractions. Yeah. Okay, it's factions. Yeah. Let me confirm with Dylan really quickly because I never really got. Oh, who was here last night and saw me talk to Nina Turner? How mad are all the people who missed out? How pog was that? I did for like a second. Yeah, how cool was that? Oh my god! And I was wearing this exact clothing too. Little anime shirt. Wait, Nina Turner was on? I was on a panel next to her. I made her laugh. Your chat is casually pro-civilian murder, though? No, I don't really think that. I think people fall in line with a lot of default positions, but I think it's the logic that justifies those positions that matters most. Let me give you an example, okay? If you take your average American citizen and you ask them what their opinion was on American involvement in World War II, they'd probably say they agreed with it, right? You know? So then go like, oh, so you support the Japanese concentration camps? You support the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki? You support all the horrible shit we did? Like, it's like, I think it's important. You have to understand people's justifications for supporting the things that they do before you can really condemn them, you know? There are a lot of people who defend Israel just because they bought into like super crazy fucking propaganda, you know? I guess that's everyone's case, but it's important to understand the logic. The logic matters a lot. Gosh, is that nuance I'm hearing? You know, it's funny. People always call my takes reductive, but I feel like I speak on these issues with a decent amount of nuance pretty much all the time. I, I mean, sometimes we pop in with the jokes, but I feel like for the most part, I try my best. For geopolitics, especially, I mean. Probably because they only see your Twitter. I don't even tweet about politics that often. I probably should. Okay, Dylan will be on in 5. Yes, non-political Vosh. Does anyone believe a two-state solution would even be feasible? How about we start by just allowing Palestine to join the UN, not just as an observer, but a full nation state with the protections endowed therefore. How about would that would be like a cool start, right? Can we how about we at least how about we begin with that, you know? Do any other countries support Israel as much as the USA does? No, not even close. No, the Israel and the United States are very very close butt buddies on this. Did I see any of the Hunter Southern debate? No, but I planned on going over it on stream, maybe doing a bit of a review. The UK does a lot. Well, sure, the UK follows us, but not as much as the USA. Yeah, the United States of America and Israel are docking. They have. Oh, I was about to say they've wrapped their foreskin around each other, but I think Israel and the USA probably have the highest rates of circumcision of any countries on Earth, right? Maybe docking would be harder for them. Probably. They're the least capable of docking. You know. Yeah, just tip smashing. You know. Um. That was bad. Why am I laughing? It's not bad. America has a high circumcision rate, and obviously Israel does. I don't know why it's so popular in America. I'm circumcised. I mean, I got circumcised. Like, my parents aren't Jewish. It just is a thing in America, I guess. Police to be assigned to high risk individuals with mental health issues in the UK. It assigns police to high risk individuals to reduce demand via criminalization. This doesn't. I don't think police officers are qualified to handle issues like this. Well, it was supposed to stop people from masturbating. Is that the original reason? It doesn't work. Well, they used to try so many ways of keeping folks from jerking it. Wasn't it like cold showers? That was one of the ways it was supposed to. It was supposed to cut people down on masturbating. It was cold showers, but it didn't work. It actually made people hornier. I remember that. Yeah, hairy palms and what have you. God, Christians are fucking crazy. Jesus. I'm always the only uncut guy girls have been with. Did you see the Jubilee Palestine Israel talk? I don't know if I can handle it. I can't. Oh god. I unironically want to mitigate the extent to which I talk about the Israeli stuff, just because I know there are a lot of bad faith people who are going to try to get me deplatformed from Twitch for alleged anti-Semitism. There were people making comments like that. There in Destiny's Reddit, there were people actually saying like, "Of course, Vosh is an anti-Semite. Remember what he got banned from Twitch for?" Like actually making that argument, not like as a joke, but like for real making that argument. Like, oh my god. So yeah, there are probably people like with their fucking hand hovering over the report button anytime I say anything even remotely controversial about this. Yeah, we'll talk about MTG harassing AOC for sure. Vosh Israel is already on the Twitter search bar. Lamau. Nice. Do you think Destiny would call you that? I think Destiny would call me anything to get my attention. You're too paranoid. Dude, it's my job. What do you think about the PKK? I haven't read up on the PKK for a really long time. I feel like so I think there are elements of this that are defensible, or am I thinking about the parts that help with the construction of Rojava and the PKK is different? Fuck, there are like multiple organizations here. Is the was the PKK the one that split off to help with Rojava, or are we talking about the Wars group that was operating in Turkey that was used as a scapegoat to later attack Rojava? PKK is the one in Turkey. Okay, I think PKK has done a lot of bad stuff. Yeah. Yeah. PKK is the scapegoat. Yeah. I would need to the extent to which I learned about the PKK was me thinking like this good, this bad. So I'd need to learn more about the PKK before I could say. As a general rule, though, terrorist groups don't really have a good track record of liberating oppressed populations. So, you know. Oh, we're waiting on a call. Howdy.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing? I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing okay, all things considered.
Nice. Yeah, all things considered. So we've had an interesting couple of news days.
Yeah, we surely have. To be blunt about it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know me, my hands are tied. I can't talk about this without someone watching me and having their hand on my shoulder. I need a supervisor, a babysitter, as it were. So
Yeah, you have some real nuclear takes on this issue.
That's true. That we disavow and have walked past, by the way. And we're hyperbolic language to begin with, intended for comedic purposes. Okay. Let's give you a unhelpfully vague question. What's your take on what's happening right now?
My take generally is that the recent escalation, I would pin the earlier escalation when it comes to Al-Aqsa Mosque and the evictions on the state of Israel, and that the quote unquote evictions out of the East Jerusalem are disgusting and a human rights abuse. I think that the fact that they raided the third holiest site of Islam is disgusting. Utterly repulsive, and of course was going to lead to an escalation. I think the airstrikes have been used and overwhelmingly to cause destruction in the Gaza Strip. Over 50% of the casualties so far, according to the Gaza Ministry of Health, have been civilians. Many of them children, a decent amount of them children. We're probably going to get a same amount as we did in the 2014 war as we did for the amount of children killed there. There have been UN schools bombed, and it's utterly repulsive to me.
Yeah, I actually learned about that from your Twitter, that one of those I don't remember the casualty numbers, but that a UN school was bombed. That like UN schools they're flagged as UN schools.
Yeah, they're flagged. They literally have giant flags out them. The thing that's important about UN schools is not only that since the Gaza Strip has a 48% unemployment rate and a terribly underserved infrastructure, those UN schools are a vital resource for children to have access to like avoid radicalization, to get an education, and to just play and like have somewhere safe to be. The problem is also that with the recent conflict, many Palestinian civilians are fleeing the border regions, and they're going to UN buildings to hide and like stay safe. And with UN buildings also being blown up and the destruction of UN buildings clearly being against international law, that is something that's really scary. Now, the counterance to this is in 2014, it was also proven that Hamas has used UN schools to store rockets. My response to that would be that doesn't mean you still blow up this building, with it being extremely vital infrastructure, with it being still against international law. There's a million other targets that they could have targeted besides the UN school, and considering how vital this infrastructure is, I think it does much more damage than any good by destroying it.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree.
But that would also prove to me how disgusting Hamas is, the fact that they would store active military equipment next to where children are playing in the playground, right?
Yeah.
Like, that that also blew me away because I remember having a debate with somebody on this, and I was giving them statistics, and I'm like, "What? Do you think the UN is working with Hamas?" And then afterwards, reading documents and be like, "Well, the UN wasn't working with Hamas, but they were actually storing these weapons in UN buildings. This is utterly repulsive."
I mean, you could make an argument that Israel benefits from keeping the Palestinian population stupid, uneducated, and radicalized. The more of them that turn to Hamas, the greater a justification Israel has to engage in the behavior they do. You know?
Well, I would say that, of course, the thing is, I would say that any economy that is underdeveloped has a less of an ability to develop an effective military. This is why a lot of like people say we shouldn't trade. We need to do decoupling with China because the idea is if we decouple with China, then they'll be unable to rise to great length. But I deeply disagree with the theory. I think international trade is something that decreases international conflict. I think we're not going to be able to get the rest of the international community to trade with China. But there is this idea that if you stop somebody's economic rise, then you're going to stop their ability to like resist or like build up a military, and that would be similarly true for the Gaza Strip. But it's also this is politically extremely beneficial to Netanyahu, this whole situation going down. Netanyahu was in the middle of a corruption scandal. Netanyahu was facing a coalition finally being built against him. He was the most pressure he's ever been under during the entire time he's been prime minister. There was even questions of Arab parties joining this coalition to oust him. It was a huge news. And with these recent developments, the right-wing faction of that coalition has dropped out, that coalition has crumbled, and it seems Israel is headed towards another round of elections. And so not only has this benefited Netanyahu by destroying the coalition being built against him that could have finally ousted him, but if there's anything that helps the far right in Israel, it's conflict in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah. Do you think this is a little bit too convenient?
Political, yes, political in nature, of course. The thing is, people have this idea that these foreign policy decisions are isolated from like the irrationality of human beings or from these like deeply domestic political decisions that are not strategically or economically make sense. But the problem is people will just say whatever a domestic audience wants to hear or will make foreign policy moves in favor to get domestic approval, even if accepting the Hamas proposed ceasefire via Russia would save more lives, even if going on with the international community would be the better move, even if forming a coalition against Netanyahu right now to actually move forward on peace in the Middle East would be the better move. For Netanyahu and the far right, conflict with Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, yelling at Muhammad Abbas, and conflict with Fatah, these are things that benefit Netanyahu and are going to get Israeli voters into the poll booths to vote Likud. Likud being Bibi, which is also Netanyahu's name.
Yeah, we see this all the time here in America too. The way the conservatives start lubing up the moment they see like a shooting of a police officer or some other, or remember when the guy shot those 5 police officers a couple years back at a Black Lives Matter rally? Was it? Yeah. So when something like that happens, they're like, we get to talk about this for the next 5 years, baby. This is going to be on every news station until we say it isn't. Thatcher did this. We did this. The Middle East engagement, and Iran does this. Their constant anti-Western propaganda drumming gets exacerbated anytime American politicians take action against them, and that cements their power further.
We could point to the Iraq War. We could point to Afghanistan. We could point to what happened after 9/11. But it's its own propaganda. It's its own campaign. When Netanyahu has been saying you can't negotiate with these groups, you can't negotiate. We should probably annex the Israeli settlements. Saying all this stuff, and then you, as an Israeli citizen, are sitting in your room, and then you hear sirens, and you have to run to the local bomb shelter because Hamas has been firing rockets 24/7. As you see them blown up in the sky by the Iron Dome defense system.
Which looks very cool.
That is a campaign. That is perfect for the far right. That is nothing but an advertisement for them. I suspect in the next round of elections, we're going to probably see a resurgence.
Well, yeah, of course. It's a spectacular propaganda piece. Now, not only do you see the rockets coming in during the nighttime, you also get to see the impenetrable wall of military force that American military aid purchased, defending them. A literal physical representation of the bulwark of, like, fascist militarism, you know? As long as you keep supporting us, as long as you keep giving us money, we can continue to afford this absurdly cool anime defense system. And if you don't, well, then, hey, the rockets land on the ground, you know?
The thing that also I would point to is the environment that's currently on the ground in Israel, with multiple lynchings being played on live television. Of course, they're not played on live television in a good light, but just camera crews wandering around. It's like, oh, there's a lynching. Let's turn the camera on that. And we see Arabs being pulled out of cars and beaten in the street. Not only beaten till they're unconscious, but then continually beaten after they're unconscious, after death. And then later in mixed neighborhoods, you'll then see you'll see Arabs pulling Jews out of cars and doing something similar, and this going on throughout all of Israel, whether it be in Tel Aviv or mixed Jewish and Arab neighborhoods, Israeli and Arab neighborhoods. This is an environment that does nothing but help the law and order crowd. And if you looked at Bibi's speech that he gave recently, one of like half of the speech was just basically him just repeating the words law and order, restoring law and order, which is going to play well.
Okay. So, with all of this taking place, how far do you think the escalation is set to carry now? Do you think... So, just yesterday, the IDF tweeted that they were beginning a ground invasion of the Palestinian territories. Now, it turns out this was, what, a mistranslation? A lie? Several news outlets reported on it and then had to issue retractions because they were just... I don't know if it was some posturing thing, but...
So what happened was that I believe it was either a mistranslation or something of that sort.
Jesus Christ.
But quite quickly, it was about like 10 to 20 minutes after the fact, there was people correcting the fact, whether it be Aura Intel or actually the spokesperson themselves had to correct the fact multiple times. And the Wall Street Journal, even after the fact had been corrected, and the American AFP, Al Jazeera, even after the fact had been corrected, continued to put out news articles saying that there was like a ground, like these troops were moving in. Now, technically, the words attack, ground forces did attack Gaza, but they attacked Gaza because artillery was moved outside of Gaza and fired. It's kind of like how every red car is a car, but not every car is red. Like every attack, like every invasion is an attack, but not every attack is invasion.
Right. It wasn't a full ground occupation of
it was a bombardment, if anything. It was a bombardment is what I referred to it as. What happened was, though, I ended my Twitch stream and I corrected them, and of course after I made my statement saying it was not a ground invasion, then they all corrected it.
The fact that military Twitter accounts are posting misinformation about their own troop movements, just a very very surreal living in this time in human history. How far do you think this is going to go? Do you anticipate an actual invasion, a full-on military occupation? Do you anticipate the further seizure of territory or the implementation of harsher sanctions? What do you expect this climate will beget?
Well, first I want to say that there's no end in sight. Netanyahu has made very clear on television and other locations that he has no intention to accept any ceasefire that has currently been proposed, and to continue military operations, and to make sure that these airstrikes, in his words, go into the thousands. That is his own statement. So I don't expect there to be a cessation of hostilities anytime soon. Hamas has yet to lower any amount of rocket attacks, so I do think they will continue that. I think artillery will continue to be used, as they just started to be implemented yesterday, and so will airstrikes in large amounts. I think as the operation continues to go on, these strikes will continue to get more and more dangerous. The reasoning being that once they took out the most high priority targets, and if they want to continue this operation to save Bibi's political career and like be strategically effective, they're going to go for the more risky targets, the targets that they were not so sure about before. This is kind of like how when Trump went into office, there was a lot of plans that Obama had for military raids and stuff in the Middle East. they didn't approve of because, well, they were too risky.
Mm.
But of course, Trump being Trump approved basically all of them. I see something similar happening that later. Whether it goes into the 2004 Operation Protective Edge type invasion that we haven't seen in about 7 years, it's hard to say. The troops have amassed at the border, and they are fully capable of doing so. So whether it's going to be a ground invasion, we just have to basically wait and see. They most certainly have plans. They have plans ready to do so. It's just a question. It really is just a question of waiting and seeing. But what I can tell you for certain is this is not ending anytime soon, and we're going to see many more airstrikes and many more rockets before we see any type of peace. BB and Israel will not accept any ceasefire anytime soon.
Okay. And you are of my opinion, then, that the onus predominantly falls on Israel to assume responsibility for peace because they are the entities with power and influence in the region?
There has been multiple ceasefires proposed. They have yet to accept a single one. Whose fault is that? It's pretty obvious.
Okay. What do you say, then? Because, so, the natural question is, what do we do? I mean, we can't do anything. I know there are steps that would be helpful. Palestine being recognized as a UN nation, that would help at least grant it some protections and more consideration, but we're not going to let that happen.
Nope.
So
2019, they tried to do that. The United States on the UNSC vetoed it.
Do you think we're seeing a positive shift? Because right now, people like AOC, Ilhan Omar, her reputation being, contentious on this issue, but still, have been pretty explicitly condemning Israel, not just in the flowery, hearts and minds, peace and love type deal, but very explicit. Netanyahu is a far-right ethno-nationalist. This is reprehensible. This is a genocide. Do you think this may mark a turning point where at least the Democratic Party moves towards open condemnation of Israel? Because before it used to be support of Israel, ignoring Palestinian people. This was a unilateral issue, a unanimous issue. We all agreed on that.
So I would say that internationally, of course, consensus has always been that much of the onus is on Israel. They're the one with the power. They're the one with the strength. If there's going to be any peace done, they're the one with all the leverage. They're the one who has the illegal settlements in the West Bank. Of course, Hamas has done terrible war crimes as well, as I talked about with their storing of weapons in UN schools next to school children. But the mass majority of the leverage is on Israel. When it comes to a United States perspective on this, I think that it is different on how it's being covered. The fact that we had that CNN interview that was actually had a Palestinian on the ground, giving their perspective and giving it kind of unfiltered. It's being covered a little bit more positively. I mean, not positively, but you know what I mean. There's more Palestinians, voices being raised up. And it's strange to see, at least for me, it's not strange bad, but just strange. I'm not used to it, to see Congress people just openly come out and condemn Netanyahu, condemn what's going on, and call on a stop to the violence and call for direct action on this, whether it be through aid, what I have personally called for, which is moving the embassy out of Jerusalem, or at least using that as leverage.
That would be very nice. Yeah.
Remember
what Trump said when he did that? I was like, wow, the evangelicals are even more happy about this than the Jews are,
It was that was him doing what I was talking about earlier. It was him considering a political situation to make a foreign policy decision, which undermines the leverage the United States had in negotiations between Israel and Palestine. It was a stupid foreign policy move of no, I mean, exactly 0 cents. Now, I will say this though. As much as I say there's new voices in Congress speaking up, there's new voices in media speaking up. If you look at Democratic Party leadership or the entirety of the Republican Party, the situation is completely different. Steny Hoyer released a statement simply saying that Israel has a right to defend itself. I don't see Nancy Pelosi releasing any statements about the need for America to use its leverage. Joe Biden, of course, released a statement just saying Israel has a right to defend itself.
Yep.
And everybody saw the Andrew Yang tweet. And there's nothing wrong with the statement in isolation. Israel has a right to defend itself. If someone launches a missile at your home, of course, the idea that you have
it's the implication, the unspoken.
It is nothing wrong with the content. It is the context.
Yeah.
It is the context.
But that's how it always goes, isn't it? I mean, I will say I'm heartened by media figures' perspective on this. You see people like Trevor Noah, John Oliver, who are pretty loud voices in the broader left-leaning, not, media circuit, and they're pretty clear in their condemnation of Israel on this issue. So that's positive, at the very least.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long way away from...
It is progress. It's just, for me, I don't think it's progress fast enough for we to see real movement in this situation in particular. This situation in particular,
we're moving
I'm
too slow to
particularly
do
doomer
anything.
about. Now, there's just I don't see any political opportunity from any powers involved to do anything to stop the violence.
Just watch it happen.
Yeah, let's if we think about the powers involved, you have the Jordanian kingdom, which currently doesn't have a great relationship with the state of Israel, and so I doubt they'll be able to be a decent intermediary. Then you have the state of Israel, which Netanyahu is having his own personal short-term conflict with the far right because he restricted access to the Temple Mount. There's been extreme political division. Netanyahu's in a corruption scandal, and they're going to go through another election cycle, and the coalition that was going to form against him has collapsed. So I don't see anyone with any political leverage or even political functionality with the Knesset going into election after election after election to really make any bold moves on peace between Israel and Palestine. Then you go to the United States and Joe Biden says, well, we had Jake Sullivan talk to Israeli officials and we did technically stop this vote to condemn what Israel did. It was 14-15 on the USC, and we were the one state that stopped it. And our reasoning, we said, on why we didn't want to condemn the evictions in East Jerusalem with the UN vote was, well, we would use our direct diplomacy to bring an end to the violence. And we sent Jake Sullivan. Joe Biden's released the statement of Israel's right to defend itself, and nothing has happened, and we've seen no indication from Netanyahu that he's going to stop the violence anytime soon. So I don't see any real motivation from Joe Biden. Like, he might be sending these diplomats and encouraging Bibi to do something, but I don't think he's going to use the leverage that I want him to. I don't think he's going to be able to say, like, hey, we are perfectly willing to reverse Trump's decision to move the embassy to Jerusalem. We are perfectly willing to talk about lessening or eliminating our military aid in consideration of what's currently going on. I don't see that conversation being had, and so I don't see any parties involved that are willing to make real moves here. So I think this violence is just going to perpetuate itself.
All we can do is watch them die. Okay, but we can watch, or we can plant seeds for the future. We can make arguments today. That's what you've been doing. It's of course what I've been doing. Now, you've argued with people on this, and you know the lines that you get faced with, okay? First of all, there's the very immediate law and order, hyper-defensive fascist stuff. We have a right to defend ourselves. Like, you don't even engage with the premise. Just, we have a right to defend ourselves. They're violent. They send rockets at us. It's not even engaging with the premises here. When you encounter arguments like that, what's your approach? What's your rhetorical strategy? Because, and it's hard to say this because this language seems as though it overlaps with a lot of conspiratorial thinking, but it's true that Israel is a delicate topic in the United States of America, and there are bad faith actors who will weaponize accusations of anti-Semitism to prevent criticism of Israel. And I find that horrible. I think it's anti-Semitic to directly attach a people to a state and to thus make each group culpable for the behavior of the other. I think that's a reprehensible thing to do, but people do it anyway. So how do you approach stuff like that?
Personally, what I will say is, of course, every state and every people have a right to defend itself, but is example A defending themselves? Is example B defending themselves? And I'll bring up examples of the callousness used by Israeli forces at times to when quote unquote defending themselves was during the border protests in 2018 when this Israeli sniper killed 2 medics. Were those Hamas medics that were actually had med kits for Hamas? What about that reporter? That reporter have a rocket in his camera that were going to blow away all the Israeli soldiers? And I'll bring up these examples, or these UN's or these recent UN schools. Have we any evidence so far that was really a necessary step to defend the state of Israel when there were many other targets around? Or let's look at the death toll casualty numbers in comparison, and that's what I'll do. Of course, states and peoples have a right to defend themselves, even though it seems that the State Department is unwilling to say that Palestinians have a right to defend themselves. It is the question of, is this an effective self-defense, number one, and are these things actually making people's lives safer? Those would be the two. Because if every time I pulled a trigger, there was a 50-50 chance it would kill a civilian, I would really be reconsidering pulling that trigger.
What do you say to the explicit ethno-nationalists? This is our territory, our ancestral homeland. The Palestinian people have no right to live here. It's unfortunate, but we cannot work together. We cannot live together. They must be expelled from this, from this place to live. Because I have seen people just go full forward. For example, Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro has actually come out with an opinion piece on his proposed solution to the Middle East, and it is as simple as removing Arabs from the region. So it's, he's a fairly popular conservative pundit. It seems to me like there are probably many conservatives who reflect that.
Ooh, are you familiar with one of his old articles on this issue? I actually have a few
with at least a few.
Here.
Are we talking?
This is one he has yet to condemn, actually. It's titled. Would you like me to read a few captions from this from Ben Shapiro?
Please do.
It is titled "The Radical Evil of the Israeli Arab Population." Now let's go down here. The fabled Palestinian people. The Palestinian people who simply want a better life. The Palestinian people who President George W. Bush has repeatedly informed us long for a society in which they can raise their children in peace and hope. The Palestinian people who support, fund, and execute suicide bombings. The Palestinian people who dress their toddlers in bomb belts and take family snapshots. The Palestinian people who cheered on September 11th as the World Trade Towers fell. The Palestinian people who followed terrorist extraordinaire Yasser Arafat, supported Saddam Hussein, shredded the blooming rose that was Christian Lebanon, and almost toppled the Western-friendly Jordanian monarchy. The Palestinian people who destroy relics on the Temple Mount openly call for the destruction of the state of Israel, ally with Syria and Iran, and elect Hamas. The Palestinian people who teach their children that the Holocaust is a fairy tale and that Jews routinely poison Palestinian candy. The Palestinian people who stage injuries in order to solicit Western media sympathy and then roar madly as they hold up their hands red with the blood of murdered Israeli soldiers. The idea of an entire population corrupted by bloodthirsty anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism violates modern ideas of politics. Now the
seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah. His stance. The thing is, he can come out and condemn a lot of his old statements, but the real substance of the policies that he believes in when it comes to Israel, Palestine,
he believes every fucking word. If times were different, alt universe, Ben Shapiro would be the architect of mass slaughter of Arab people, 100%. The way that dude talks about Arab people, he could absolutely be sending them to death camps if he had the power to do so. The rhetoric is so explicitly clear from one point to another. I mean, everything that you just said right there sounded like it could have been like a Goebbels radio broadcast, about Jewish people. Just the ridiculous stretching of time, history, and context to assign all evil in the known universe to one ethnic group.
Here's another line from it. The problems run deeper than a few figureheads. The Palestinian Arab population is rotten to the core.
So yeah, Dylan, how do you talk to people like that? What do you have a particular way? Because in my opinion, at that point, you're dealing with Nazi shit. And when you're at Nazi shit, it's not about arguing them out of their biases. It's more about making them cry and look bad publicly, which is also what Ben Shapiro does to his opponents, or at least tries to. So there's some parallel there.
Well, I would, of course, compare this to historical mass expulsions like the Armenian genocide. I would compare it to what's currently going on Nagorno-Karabakh to Armenians. I could, of course, just say there's nothing genetically inferior about the Palestinian people. They have been living here for generations. They have a right to live here. You don't have a right to steal their home and property, no more than I have a right to go into your home and steal your house and property. And then you can make comparisons. One thing that I usually do is I'll say is I have a community, I have a home, I have a church, I have all these things around me, I have family members, I have friends, and I'd really hate for somebody to come and say this is mine because, and then make some weird historical argument. Therefore, even though you've lived here your full life and you have full legal right to live here, and the international community is pretty united on this because I want it, you're out of here. I think just like comparing them to these historical explosions, ethnic cleansings, and bringing up the fact that these are human beings and the humanitarian effect is the best thing to do for an audience. But there's nothing you can do to convince the person, and the intent should never be to convince the person. It's a waste of time. It should be make it very clear to the audience exactly who you're dealing with here.
Yeah, well, the goal with those people would always be to unmask them, right? With somebody like Ben Shapiro, he comes off as very affable, friendly even. His tweets, well, hey, look at my cowboy hat, look at my one plank of wood, when he argues with the college students, the intellectual ownage he delivers to them is always like it's like, it's in good sport. It always seems that way with him. But underlying all of that is what seems to be a real and legitimate seething fucking ethnic hatred for a
There was
particular
this
group of
recent
people.
tweet, and this just happened, where somebody was like, I think it was Anthony Blinken, who is not some crazy lefty. He's a centrist as centrist come. He's the Secretary of State for the Biden administration, and he tweeted out like, Jews and Palestinians both deserve equal rights. That's a very bland tweet, right? Very
Yeah.
bland. Ben Shapiro responded to it with, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, all the terrorists of the Palestinians do, da, 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 basically saying if Palestinians want equal rights, then Hamas needs to stop.
That's
Like,
funny. He's doing the same thing to that tweet that we did to Yang's tweet from the opposite perspective, where he didn't take issue. Well, he does take issue with the content of the tweet, but he was attacking the context of the tweet,
yeah, but he was attacking it in a weird way because under no conditions are people's human rights dependent upon whether their population has terrorists within it.
Nazis have
Therefore,
human rights.
you
Everyone
can
has human rights, yeah.
you can use this justification to, let's say, do something in Xinjiang, or how we monitored Muslims in New York City. Like that's in their mosques after 9/11. Just because a population might have a few terrorists within it does not mean you can justify the taking away of the human rights. I can't just start monitoring every white man in America because of the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, it depends on what kind of tanky pill you're on. As if we needed the Ku Klux Klan to justify the erasure of white men from America, am I right?
Of course.
Right. So it's difficult to have these arguments, of course, because it's a very sensitive subject. To what extent do you think? So this is what I say often. America cares about Israel for two reasons. One, it's a military base, and it is. We maintain a lot of relevance in the region because of Israel's existence. And B, because of the fundamentalist death cult thing. The Christian fundamentalists, of course, they believe that one of the preconditions for the rapture to come, for them to be whisked off to heaven, is for the Jews to return to their holy land. So in essence, they can be sacrificed so the Christians can go to heaven. To what extent? Because I've read up on that, and at first when I heard that, it sounded like a conspiracy theory, like some it sounded like some Time Cube level geopolitics. But I read up on it, and it seems like actually no, there is a really strong trend in the evangelical community to support Israel for religious reasons like that.
So I mean, the thing is, I remember recently saying that this was a thing, and people told me it's a fairy tale. I remember being like 7 years old and like Bible camp on the weekends, right? Being told directly by my local church that I'm no longer a member of course. Well, okay, the reason why America's failing is because we're considering letting the gays marry each other, and because we don't give Israel enough weapons. Just straight up. That was the message delivered directly to me. That was the message delivered to me. That the reason why there's poverty in America, the reason why there's cancer, the reason why there's all these bad things is because we don't give Israel enough weapons, and that the gays could get married. Of course, the former at least has been dealt with. So this is something that you'll see when you, for example, JLP, Jesse Lee Peterson, amazing. He released a video recently, which I looked at, and you should look at this video. It is an interesting video to say the least. It's about 8 minutes. It's an interesting watch, and the reason he gives is basically he gives the worst like summary of the conflict in history, and his whole thing is just the Jews are good, the Arabs are evil. Amazing. That's it. And it's just all based off of that religious context. And you want to know what? the vast majority of his listeners, and a lot of people don't realize this, the vast majority of JLP's listeners are like unironic, like supporters of his work and like radio programs and stuff like
Which
that.
was crazy. When I first met JLP, you know, because I'd heard about him, I saw his debate with Destiny, and I didn't know how authentic any of this was. I mean, he's a character. But when I went and met him, no. Nah, dude believes every word that he says. I think he knows he's a bit silly. I think he understands that, but I still think he believes what he says.
Yeah.
And his
100%.
followers seem to too. When he does his radio shows, folks call in and they talk to him like he's legit the savior of them, that he led them out to the flock or whatever.
I've seen gay men call into his show and be like, "So I've been suppressing my homosexuality as advised by you for like 5 years now." Like just like people completely changing their life due to this man's words. As funny as it is to look at the man from a distance, it is also quite scary to see.
Oh, it's terrifying. Yeah. That anyone could find anything JLP has to say convincing is absolutely terrifying. And really, once you accept that...
And that's the man telling people about foreign policy.
Yeah, once you accept that, you can believe anything else people believe here in America. Like, oh, the religious fundamentalist justification for Israeli occupation? Oh, yeah, obviously people believe that. People follow JLP, you know? The election hoax? Of course people believe that. They believe JLP. It's kind of the wall you have to break through, you know? It's truly the Joker moment of engaging in online politics, is finding out people take him seriously.
100%. So I would say that that's 100% part of the reason is playing to that domestic audience. I would say also that I would describe Israel as more than a military base. I would describe them as one of the most effective military powers in the world. They have a highly effective air force, a civilian population duly ready for combat, a draft system that has been in place for years. They have nuclear weapons, unannounced of course, but they do have nuclear weapons, which is a huge game changer for anyone who would actually want to even touch Israel. They have effective armor. They've proven themselves in multiple wars, whether that be 1948, 1967, Yom Kippur, anywhere, to be extremely effective at fighting multiple enemies at once. Yeah,
nation state, the mandatory draft, even for women, which is pretty uncommon. That like every citizen has had some. Everybody in Israel.
That's not true entirely. There are certain religious groups that want exceptions.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say either has been or has connections to somebody in the military. You know.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. There's no getting away from it. Even here in America, which is pretty gung ho with its military, there are cities of people who have never met a soldier in their entire lives. Suburbs tend to produce the soldiers, you know? Suburbs and more rural areas, disproportionately, that's where people enlist from. But in the larger population centers, you can go your whole life without ever seeing one, except maybe at the airport from time to time. In Israel, this is day-to-day news, information on rocket attacks, updates on Hamas. You have family members going off to serve. You went off to serve. All of your neighbors, everyone served. You all have firearm training.
Think about it, too. Think about it too, because let's say you're somebody who's like, oh, I don't know about this whole service thing, and then you hear the sirens come on. What is a better thing to recruit people to the Israeli military than the constant ringing of those sirens as rockets go into homes? And you see, and recently, 7 people have died from these Hamas rocket strikes, including a child. Like, it is really horrific how Hamas has targeted children and civilians. That will do nothing but perpetuate the conflict and act as a recruiting tool.
No, oh yeah, I mean, again, it's very, very good propaganda for the IDF and for Netanyahu, you know? Constant air raid sirens and what have you. When do you get the most recruits? When do you get the most war fervor? During wartime. London, England, during the bombings, you know? After Pearl Harbor, the United States. When you feel like you're under attack, more people get gung-ho, more people get nationalistic, and Israel always feels like it's under attack. But of course, the attacks it's suffering are comparatively paltry compared to what it dishes out in return. And Israel maintains the conditions by which the attacks take place. The attacks will never stop. Rocket attacks will never stop so long as Israel exists there and refuses to use diplomacy with its neighbors. But that's good for them.
Here's the thing.
That's what they want.
These missile strikes. Now that's not what I don't believe that's what the Israeli population want, but I do think there's certain individuals in Israel,
the military-industrial complex, the higher ups. I imagine the population is quite sincere in their belief in self-defense.
Of course, and of course, every state, including Israel, has a right to self-defense. But when we make that statement, we need to make it in a broader context. The thing for me, give me a moment here. Let me just remember what I was going to say. I lost it for a second. Now I lost it. Well, it's gone forever.
Ain't nothing. No, of course, sorry. When I say they, I'm referring to the military-industrial complex, Netanyahu, people who benefit from a perpetual military. I'm sure the Israeli population wants to live in peace. I am positive of this. They want nothing. No air raid sirens, no rocket attacks. I imagine they would love to live in a country where they didn't feel they have to enlist, as a matter of course. But we know how this goes down. In order to maintain this constant acquisition, the people have to be kept afraid, so they are.
There's this thing that I hear all the time, and it's the idea that, well, this group wants to destroy Israel, wants to put it into the sea. And you know what? That is something that is in Hamas's charter. That's very clear from Hamas's intentions. Palestinian Islamic Jihad is even more radical than Hamas and also has similar intentions. Right. This is true. And this is a reality they have to deal with. That these are bad groups who will target civilians, kill civilians, and store weapons right next, in UN schools. Right? These are not friendly people. That is reality. But when we talk about this, every time somebody says that, it always kind of leaves me standing there okay, that's their intention. But we all know that's not going to happen, right?
Right.
It's physically impossible. There is no way that a group of people with cheap drones, balloons, and rockets that don't even have a high effectiveness rate due to the Iron Dome defense system is going to beat a nuclear power with one of the most effective militaries in the world in a history of winning wars in the region, whose relationship with other Arab states, with Arab states in the region, only is improving. It's something that I feel like it'd be like if I said, you know what, everyone, I'm going to take down Minnesota. I might try, and it might be terrible, whatever I do to take down Minnesota, flood their local economy, whatever, do whatever it is for this targeting of Minnesota. But we also would all have to acknowledge, in whatever response Minnesota does or whatever thing that happens, that I'm not going to take down Minnesota. I don't have the power to do that.
Yeah, of course. Well, again, we've dealt with this in America with crime before. Because this is the same law and order rhetoric. You see it everywhere. It all boils down to the same fundamental argument. What do police do? They protect us. What do they protect us from? The gangs. Are the gangs evil? Sure, they do a lot of terrible stuff. But over-policing doesn't fix it. Punitive laws doesn't fix it. These solutions do nothing but perpetuate the problem. It's a systemic solution you're looking for. And Israel, again, the government of Israel, obviously not the people, I don't even think they make an effort at diplomacy in their region. The idea to them that they should have to fall in line in the same way other nations have to make compromises with their neighbors, I don't think this is something that even I don't think it's something they're willing to acquiesce to, the government. If they were to actually treat the Palestinian people like an equal or a regional partner with which negotiations must be made, they would have to make concessions that they otherwise really wouldn't have to make if they just kept the game going. And you can do this too with the policing. That's why all the tough on crime types, they never actually want to fix the drug war or deal with qualified immunity or fix systemic oppression in these neighborhoods that lead to generational inequality. It's always something like that. They get to keep the system going. Unfortunately, the problem between Israel and Palestine,
when the violence starts, the far right loses support.
When the violence
that's just
stops,
when the violence stops.
Oh, you said
the far
starts.
right will lose support.
Yes, yes.
When it stops, there's no way that Bibi and Netanyahu is going to be able to keep power if Hamas is no longer a threat. There's no way that even the blue and white party would be able to get, even though that's already a dead party.
But Hamas will not go away if Israel keeps acting this way. I mean, how could they not? The Palestinian people, they feel as though they need to turn to something.
The thing is, dealing with terrorism is a lot more than just blowing something up. I think we should have learned that right now with ISIS. We've seen a resurgence of ISIS in northeastern Syria, largely due to Trump's withdrawal, by the way, which has increased ISIS operational capability and reduced anti-ISIS raids by the SDF. I do want to always take a chance to jab at Trump for the withdrawal. But yes, there's multiple ways.
that Israeli special forces do this? Because Israel always does this shock and awe thing. Oh, Hamas fired bottle rockets at our hospital. Well, we'll carpet bomb X or Y. You know, it's always big, flashy.
Well,
If they sent operatives in, are you suggesting they covertly deal with Hamas?
well, I wouldn't want to call them bottle rockets, considering they've killed children.
No, but comparative to their weapons tech, you understand what I'm.
Yeah, I understand. I don't want to get clipped and shipped on that.
Fair.
So the thing for me is the only way you deal with terrorism, and I had this debate with some conservative yesterday who called me an agent of Hamas, is the idea that number one, yes, you have to strike and attack terror groups, but that isn't the end of it. If you just strike and blow something up, then you haven't dealt with the situation that caused that group to come to fruition. You haven't dealt with the poverty. You haven't dealt with the education. You haven't dealt with the radicalization. You haven't dealt with the geopolitical forces involved. There is a lot of other things you need to do to actually stop terrorist groups from rising up. If we just blew up ISIS and then left, that doesn't mean terrorism's solved. That's ridiculous. You need to give people a reason to not want to even entertain these radical
video
ideas.
Games, anime, body pillows. You got to give them something, because you give them nothing, they all turn to terrorism. Same with us, by the way. Same with us.
No.
1776, no anime, no body pillows, no video games. What did we do? We revolted.
Now, of course, this doesn't mean that rich people don't get involved in terrorism. Osama bin Laden, it was very famous, the Egyptian hijacker on 9/11. But what I will say is that statistically, it's proven that in areas with higher rates of poverty, you're more likely to turn to violent crime. The same thing is true for terrorism.
Of course. But you do believe it is Israel's responsibility to use its military might to execute Hamas, or execute or arrest Hamas leaders. That you believe that Israel should be able to intercede in Palestinian territory to do as such, even though the Palestinians don't have the ability to intercede on Israeli territory and arrest their military leaders who bomb their UN facilities and what have you.
That's a difficult question to answer, but I do believe that Hamas leaders who are organizing strikes on civilians, anyone who organizes strikes on civilians, I believe someone has the moral justification to attack that person.
Okay. No, I think I agree with that. This is one of those.
That's a universal standard, though.
Yeah, and this is one of those shaky. I mean, it's complicated. That's always going to be one of those shaky answers. You're never going to get fair play when there are two groups that have wildly unequal power between them, because only one of those two groups will have the ability to make their will known. Here, the Palestinians just have to. I mean, what is it? The strong will do what they will. The weak must suffer what they must. I mean, that's exactly what we're dealing with here, really.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, like it's if Israel has the vast majority of the strength, they have the vast majority of military power. That's why they're able to use force so overwhelmingly in comparison to any group on the ground in the Gaza Strip. But at the end of the day, we must also acknowledge that if somebody is planning to target civilians, to attack civilians, or to just kill the innocent, then of course the state has a moral responsibility to protect those civilians. The question should be, though, is these actions being taken to protect civilians when ceasefires are on the table, when there's also the question of were all these strikes made in a precise manner to also consider the death toll on the Palestinian population? Were these strikes done, like, for example, when we look at the border protests and these journalists killed and the medics killed, like I find it very hard to believe that when the medic is shot, that they're shooting the medic to combat terrorism.
Of course. Yeah, and it always starts like that. Small criticisms of the overreach of Israeli military power lead into larger criticisms of their broader strategy in the region. But if you can get a Zionist or whatever, a fascist, any type to defend Israel's actions altogether, to back off of defending something like that, then that's a good start, you know? If you can get them to admit some things are over the line, you can work them out from that point.
I would also want to bring up the fact that this is like something that's been interesting going on so far. Have you seen that there's been rocket attacks from other countries as well into Israel now?
Yeah, I heard that, but I didn't know how reliable that information was. There's been a lot of fake news going on about.
So I can tell you that so far, There's been a rocket attack from Lebanon.
Mhm.
Now, those people who were involved were arrested by Lebanese authorities, and Hezbollah did not claim that they were behind it. Which, if Hezbollah started launching rockets at Israel, um, that is very, very, very dangerous and
You
a
think
huge escalation.
do you think they backed
Um,
off it? Like, they fired the rockets, then they saw how things were going with Israel, and they were like, "Wait, nope, that was just two guys. Never mind. We're not affiliated with these jokesters over here, you know?"
Um, I mean, of course, it's physically possible, but there are enough groups and enough people involved in anti-Israeli terrorism to have been anybody. So I can't make any claims in the positive or in the negative. But also, there's recently been 1 second. There has been like some missile strikes launched from outside of Syria now towards Israel.
Mhm.
And now everybody's trying to scrambling to figuring out like, okay, what exactly was that? Who launched the rockets? What's the response going to be? Because then this gets into the conversation about incursions into Syria and incursions into Lebanon, which would expand the conflict. And the more this conflict expands, the more dangerous it gets, of course.
Of
I
course.
assume out of Syria, it was most likely an IRGC-backed paramilitary.
So I guess we're just going to have to see how it goes down.
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess obviously, like I would tell people to contact their congressman, do all the weird activism stuff. If you see any protests in your area, of course, like get involved in that. Do your best to raise awareness. Obviously, it's pretty doomer right now, but in order to change what was the Overton window, we need to continue to bring attention to this.
Hmm. Would you be willing to come on sometime in the near future? No doubt the situation will update significantly within a week.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be perfectly willing to. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for coming on. Do you have any final points? Any um, big big
Look,
brain takes to throw out?
Look, I believe Keemstar said it best. Israel and Palestine need to study John Lennon's Imagine. Okay, truly a big brain take on the issue. You can find my stuff at Dylan Burns TV on Twitch. That's DYLANBURN TV. You can find it also on YouTube, which I'm almost at 30K subs, so I'd appreciate any support getting me there. That'd be DYLANBURNS TV as well. And on Twitter, that's DYLANBURNS1776 because I'm so patriotic and a God-fearing American.
Gotcha. Well, best of luck. We're both good luck being called a Hamas supporter in your future debates.
Did I ever tell you about the time I was called out by a Netanyahu allied reporter?
Really?
Yeah, do you want to hear this story quick?
Quick, yeah. Hit me with it.
So when I was working on the Michaela campaign, there was somebody who was a member of the Lahai, which I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, and my throat hurts, so I can't really do it right now. Who was it was a terrorist organization, a pro-Israeli terror organization that openly called themselves a terrorist organization, and also like slaughtered Palestinians and wanted to work with the Nazis at one point to ally themselves with them in order to like get all the Jews over to like Israel. And I was criticizing the person because she was the spokesperson for a terrorist organization, and me doing that, this reporter, and at the time I had like 300 followers on Twitter, and I was just like working on the campaign stuff. I was doing the elbow work, doing all the hard work and getting none of the credit, and she sees that I did this and responds with basically just like, screw you, you're a Holocaust denier. And then everybody started adding my campaign. And I still don't understand where that claim came from.
Do
I
they
can
need an
only,
excuse? I mean, these types?
I don't know. All I know is that she's a pretty far right individual. And she just wanted to throw that at me to, I guess, like kind of ruin my life at the time. And yeah, of course, I had to have meetings with the campaign. Thankfully, they were very understanding. But yeah, that was something that could have endangered my employment.
I'm glad that
But
it
yeah,
didn't tank your employment. Thank
I'm
you for
very
coming
happy as
on.
well. You
I'll
have a
be
good day.
happy to have you on in the future so you can continue to not tank your employment as best as you can.
Awesome. You have a good one, okay?
Take care.
See you later.
Bye. Nice. Do we all feel educated? We should probably catch up on some donations, no? We all feel Vibrant. It's crazy. You all chat so much less when I'm not talking. You really are all just here for my attention, aren't you? Maybe what I need to do is stop looking at chat myself so you can all learn to talk when I'm not looking directly at you. Since you're all clearly only here to directly get me to notice you. Christ. No, I just listen. I'm on to your shit. How we doing? Did you see this RE8 meme? RE8 meme? Wow, that is hard to look at. We'll share that during an RE8 stream. Have you considered we're listening quietly to the guest? Your job. Listen, you all signed the contract. If you're on VGG, your job is to be on the left-hand side of the screen and to be entertaining at all times, okay? Dance for me. You clowns. All right? Clap. Juggle. How does it feel to have such an overinflated ego, Vosh? Feels pretty good, but not as much as it does when I insert my overflated cock into your mom's ass consensually. Hey, cat break. Speaking of overinflated, come here, fat ass. Hello. Look at you. He's purring. Look at him. Look at this boy. Big boy. What a cute lad. So soft and warm. So soft and warm, yes. The best pillow. Very good. Very good. Very good. Purring so loud. Yeah? He's got my beard. You got it. You got my chin. What are you going to do with it? You going to try to kill my chin? Ooh. Ah, don't get my lip. That part's sensitive. Let me put him back, then we'll read donos. I'm glad we got Dylan on. I'm glad Dylan has also been called a supporter of Hamas. I'm glad that there's a parallel in there. Dylan is almost like a news correspondent for the stream. Yeah, a little bit. Dylan keeps up with breaking news way, way, way more than I do. I like to break apart videos and debate. That's why I don't talk about news as much, but he follows it very fastidiously, which is awesome. Will you upload any Israel and Palestine sociology papers to your research doc? That would be a lot. Whoa, that'd be a lot. Ooh. Oh, cat hair. Oh yes. Also, yes, Dylan is part of the queer faction of Hamas. Yes, the the Hamas gay brigade. Okay. Dylan, he goes out there into, the Gaza Strip, okay? What he does, he finds gay people on the ground, and he throws them up onto rooftops with his tremendous shoulder strength. See, he's defying stereotype. Yes, the brigade. All right. Oh, I have to pee too. Hold on. Hold on. Right. You know, I've been thinking really positively about the future of the stream right now. Or sorry, not right now, but in the immediate past. Positive feelings we've been having. Ugh. We're going to talk to Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball on the 27th of this month. We'll be going on their podcast to discuss my highly contentious takes on issues. Oh my God, Sonia. Okay, I'll do donuts just a second. Thank you so much. Hold on. We saw Nina Turner just last night, which was awesome. I might invite her to be a guest of the stream if I can. Vosh live or not live? I'm not sure. I don't actually know the format. Didn't you shit talk Crystal really hard? No. No. So that'll be fun. Never happened. No. That'll be fun. Looking forward to that. And yeah, I've actually just been feeling a lot more optimistic about the stream in general lately. Unfortunate that it coincides with some spectacularly bad geopolitical news, but you know. Oh. How are we all doing? How about we revel in positivity for a couple minutes before we do donos? And then we're going to talk about AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene and some spectacular new footage that just got leaked. Well, Quoteth, I was only there because we had a shared connection. I don't. We'll have to see. We could get AOC on. We can't get AOC on. That'd be ridiculous. Have you seen the Matt Gaetz update? Yes, one of Matt Gaetz' co-conspirators, partners, associates, pled guilty. I have not talked about or know about the Glasgow demonstrations. I'm happy to hear that you got a vaccine appointment. And happy birthday, dude, man. That's fantastic. Whew. Please be good in the podcast. You need to attract those soak dems. True. We need to attract those burnouts. Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball both have a lot of burnouts that follow them, you know? Hey, I mean, Natalie knows H-Bomb, who knows AOC, kinda. Oh, I have a much more direct connection to AOC than that, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be able to talk to her. There's a McDonald's strike next week. Oh, yeah, we have to talk about all the businesses that have put signs up. Oh, we should talk about that. We're going to have to put off a couple of things. I don't think we're going to be talking about Liz Cheney today. Is it clear when you'll be challenged for your hippy dippy belt again? No, I haven't gotten any info on that. Cheney, not Cheney. Cheney. There we go. Could you redo your old How to Make Friends video? I think I kind of made a new one of those just like a month ago, didn't I? Isn't the hippy dippy over? Does that mean I get to be the champion forever? That'd be nice. Happy Cake Day, Title Punk Roller Girl. Did you see the threats for a third-party split in the GOP in recent days? Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Do you like Mount the Infidel? Yeah, I think that Mount the Infidel is very attentive and interested in data, which is something that we need more of in the left. Hopefully Mount the Infidel stays on the left. Like leftist proper, not soaked down. He is young. His positions might change. Is monthly motivation too much to ask? I give you motivation every day, thank you. No, Dylan said the championship would still be going on. Oh, well, I'll still be the championship title belt holder for the rest of time anyway. Do you get another belt for winning? No, I just get to keep this one, which is beautiful, by the way. I'll keep it behind me. Never, ever, never. Can you define intersex for me? As I understand it, intersex is just sort of a broad term that refers to people who have bimorphic sexual characteristics. Like there's something about their physiology that pulls them away from one of the bimodal points on the spectrum, or the bimodal mean, the modes, and trends them more towards. So it could be a person with mixed genitalia, or a person who has like XXY chromosomes, or there's a lot there. Yeah. Lauren going to run for the Hippy Dippy Championship? I wonder if I'll ever debate Lauren. I don't really have much to like talk with her about. I find it really boring to talk with people who are hiding behind a mask that hard, you know? Like, oh my god, it's so uninteresting. Not mind a pain goose, the Harbinger. What's demisexual? Isn't demisexuality when you only want to fuck people you're friends with? Like the idea of casual sex is extremely unappealing to you? That's my understanding of it. Lauren seems so legit, though. I don't believe so. Yeah, you have to be like emotionally attached. Isn't that just everybody? No, plenty of people can have casual sex. I mean, it's nice to be friends with people you have sex with. Debate Razorfist, if you know who he is, he's a douche. I criticized Razorfist. Anytime I hear the name Razorfist and Styx Hexenhammer, they really do blur together in some sort of quantum shift between the two. I can't tell. I don't know which one I'm thinking of. I don't know which image to associate with which name. I mean, could. Does he even do anything anymore? I don't know. New Ben Garrison hit on me? If only. One day I'll be the subject of a Ben Garrison comic. What a delightful day that would be. Anyway, suppose we should read donos, huh? Can you fuck Destiny up? He's singing new lows. We're not talking with Destiny anymore. There's not really a point. I mean, I have to keep saying this because I know there's like a deep tie between the community, but the tie is done. We're not getting through to that. I think that his behavior has been desperate and juvenile over the past couple of months, and it's so clear that his positions are motivated more by spiting the left than anything else. He's taken ridiculous positions, walked them back, then redoubled them. One of the things that I found most embarrassing, like really embarrassing, is that for about a year now, Destiny has repeated this like just move thing. If you not everyone has to live in a big inner city. If you can't afford your rent, just move to like Nebraska or some other place that doesn't have super high rent. To which the immediate question is, then what about the hundreds of thousands of service workers in that city? Like, you know, the people in that city that maintain the city for wages that are too small to live in the city. He never answers this. Then he finally talks with Noah. Noah, what was that guy's name? He's a liberal economist. Is this Noah guy? And Noah Opinion? That's what he goes by? Noah Opinion? Anyway, Destiny then completely walks back the take, and now it's about people in the tech industry who make six figures but decide to live in penthouse apartments that cost $6,000 a month and then complain about their rent. Completely walks it back like an absolute coward because he knew that if he gave his actual take, the stupid one, that the Noah person would lambast him for it. So instead, after all of that, he walks back and no, it's actually been about this mythical hyper wealthy tech dude bro who actually just wants to live in the most expensive housing available in any given city. Utter cowardice, but he triggered a lot of libs on the way over. There's no point in talking to somebody like that. It's pathetic. Yeah, he Martin Bailey's like crazy, but he's rhetorically effective, so he can get away with it from time to time. Anyway. We should probably read donos now. I have a feeling I'm going to have to keep clarifying this once every couple of weeks. Couple of hours, you people. But we'll keep doing it until we have to stop. Punk Roller Girl, thank you for the very kind $5. Yeah, the Majora's stream was quite a while ago. We should play a Zelda game sometime soon. That would be fun. Geriatric Gordy, thank you for the very kind $5. Sorry you got stood up today, comrade. I'm here for you. Urura, thank you for the gifted tier 1 sub. Zonia, with the incredibly kind 20 gifted tier 1 subs. That is incredibly kind of you, my dude. It's weird how reality for us seems to wink out of existence when you look away from chat. True! That's some quantum uncertainty right there, isn't it? Ha! Thank you very, very much, Sonia, for the 20 gifted tier 1 subs. That is unbelievably generous of you. I really appreciate that. Oh, by the way, I should say, if you're watching this from YouTube or Twitch, because I get new viewers all the time, this is the website, vosh.gg. Totally original, handmade by me, by White Nervosa. You should come on here, okay? It's cool. You can post funny frogs. Take a look at that. Now that we've fixed all the issues of the website, well, not all. There's always improvement, but now that we're not dealing with the DDoS shenaniganry, due to the incredibly heavy and expensive security we have the website under. It's a stable site. You should come on over and post funny frogs. If you want to, of course. Thank you, Zonia. Maybe you'll be the beneficiary of some gifted sub. You'll be able to have a pretty orange name. Christiana and Arboretum, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Soul Waffle and Paul DSSB, thank you for the $5 both. I really appreciate that. I'd love a podcast where Dylan describes current events and Vosh describes talking points and refutations and they convene on solutions. If there's any other content creator right now that I know of with whom I would feel comfortable doing any kind of consistent engagement, it would be Dylan Burns. I respect his intelligence, and he tends to specialize in areas that I'm a little bit weaker in, so that is the case, yeah. I don't think Dylan would ascend to that, though. I'm a little bit of a controversial figure, and Dylan tries to keep his reputation clean, so. Soul Waffle 09 and Kanda, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. Hopefully Netanyahu goes to jail soon for that corruption scandal. I have family in Tel Aviv that had to spend the last few days in a bomb shelter because their neighborhood was barely missed by a rocket. Hopefully this ends. Jesus. Well, I hope they stay safe, comrade. West of Suez Space Window and Trugman, thank you for the tier 1 subs all. Really appreciate that. Inquisitor Peleus, thank you for the $5. Fun fact, Hamas means enthusiasm in Arabic. Just thought that was kind of funny. What a deceptively optimistic name. Pessimist with the incredibly kind tier 4 sub. Thank you very, very, very much. Dude, you've come a long way. Like, damn, Nina Turner? Almost unimaginable when I first caught your streams. I hope this doesn't sound weird, but I'm proud of you. Oh, stop. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jeez. Thank you, seriously. Vosh, I love Dylan, don't get me wrong. He does his epistemology. But does his epistemology worry you when it's clearly wrong enough to result in him being a theist? No, I don't think so. You have to understand that while I may be nervous around people who are religious because their moral presuppositions may be different from mine, there's actually nothing internally inconsistent about the systems that they use. It's entirely possible to have a rigorous axiomatic justification for the existence of God. You just have to adopt a couple of axioms that I don't have. Now you can, I mean, you can argue like how justified is this unjustified presupposition, but no, Dylan is an incredibly smart person. Just because we have disagreements on that, which I imagine they would never even affect our conversations. You know? What are those axioms? That's really complicated, and I would butcher it if I tried. That's, oh God, religious philosophy? Oh. That's just, man, let me, I need to stay in my lane. God. Infidel Castro, thank you so much for the incredibly kind $50. I really, really appreciate that. Hot take, is it anti-Semitic to say, for example, American Jews deserve a home when America is already their home? Why not try to make it a better place? I don't think that's necessarily anti-Semitic. It's just the perspective that you come from. I think every individual human being deserves a home where they are safe. I don't think ethnic groups deserve pieces of land by default. Now, if you can give an ethnic group or a religious group a piece of territory and it's non-destructive, you can do so without harming the world in some tremendous way, then sure. For example, I think that we owe quite a bit of land to Native Americans anyway. If they take ancestral land, all's the better. This is not the case with Israel. The Palestinians have been there for many, many years. Many, many years. And their acquisition of that territory was highly destructive. Also, this is a little bit harder to quantify, but I think the existence of Israel increases the amount of anti-Semitism around the world. Israel is a hotbed of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, and it's also disliked by almost every government in the UN, apart from the United States. And their behavior, the state of Israel, that is, not the people, is reprehensible. It attracts a lot of condemnation that gets unfairly redistributed onto Jews who had nothing to do with anything. Do you oppose Israel's right to exist? I think it's a dumb question. I support the right for Jewish people to live free and fair lives, as safe as anyone can be. Israel is a state. And I don't deal in this what state has a right to exist thing. What is the best for people? You know? Hasanabi just said he likes Vosh. I like you too. Thank you. You understand what I mean, though, right? sometimes the continued existence of a state is a good way to secure peace and prosperity for people. I don't know if Israel is doing a good job selling itself like that. The Big Lehebowski, thank you for the 690. Really, really appreciate that. I'm not debating you in Star Wars Episode 7. Nice try. Zylo91 and Probable Viking, thank you for the 2-1 subs. Try pronounce Eoif with a very kind $10. Donating to hear you butcher my name again. The IPSC protest in Dublin for Palestine tomorrow is canceled just in case any boyos were still planning on going. Ah. Boiled again, huh? Not Medici and Emery81, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Inquisitor Peleus, I'm afraid I don't understand how to read Arabic, but thank you. I think that's Arabic. Daniel Lannister, thank you for the $5. I can literally do nothing. I'm surrounded by Nazis, sorry Zionists, and I have to call them my peers, Pipo Hands Vosh. Just live a good life. That's what matters most. You know? The predominant thing. Vosh, I'm a political science PhD student, very familiar with Israel-Palestine, and profoundly disagree with your take here. Can we debate? I already have a Zionist debate set up. Though, if there's somebody you really want to debate, you should debate Dylan Burns. Dylan Burns unquestionably knows more about this than I do. And if I were to see somebody present Dylan Burns' positions that I felt he didn't have an answer to, and I didn't have an answer to, my position might change. But if you were to debate me, and there were some points that I felt confused by or unfamiliar with, I might think, well, I don't know enough here. But if you debated somebody like Dylan, you would lose. Does that make sense? I do want to research more on this, but my God, there's so much. What if this person isn't a Zionist but still disagrees with you? Well, I imagine most of the disagreements towards me would come from Zionists, but, you know, I can't really say. I imagine that's the largest group of naysayers would be. One Shook Boy and Machnovist Roman, thank you for the tier 1 subs. Likewise, Tane. I turned 41 2 weeks ago, and let me tell you, I feel like I did when I turned 31, maybe better. Don't fear getting old, fear losing empathy. True. Hey, the only thing I fear about getting old is my back getting worse. But actually, my lower back has been getting stronger every day. The exercises that I've been doing feel so trivial, but just doing them has made such a difference. I'm very, very happy to have the opportunity to pay for my physical therapy. Thank you, guys, for allowing that to happen. Of course, my insurance covers it, but you all pay for my insurance, so thanks. More babies. Hot Goblin. When Pigeon has been sleeping in like a nest for a little while, she is actually like 120 pounds. Or sorry, not 120 pounds, 120 degrees. Hello, Pippin. Woo. Leggy. Hello. Here. Give me your feet. There we go. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Huh. I wish you all could see how affectionate she is when she's not being held. Because she's never really liked being held, but if she's just sitting somewhere, you can just, like, slappy pap her, and she'll just, like, roll around or purr or something. Very affectionate cat, very friendly, just doesn't like being held that much. Ooh. Here. Say hello. Do not scratch my ear. Bosh, you hold her wrong? Well, I have held her in many ways, but, I mean, we can hold her like this, but she always yells. Do it. Look at her, she's like, yeah? Not meowing. Maybe she's tired. No meow? Huh. Oh, they're both in here. What's up? All right. Does she actually have a bit of fur on her nose? Yes, it's the only place she has any fur. And a little bit, like, deep in her ears. I think all animals, or all mammals have that, I think, because it helps with something with the body. I've also been losing a decent amount of weight lately. She has no ear hair? Oh, then I've misremembered. There we go. So that's all been fun. How expensive are Sphinx cats? You're going to be mad at me. They can range for quite a bit. Quite a lot. You look thinner than a year ago. Thank you. Anyway, you know the exercise I've been doing? The main one that I've been doing. It's the most suggestive exercise that I've ever been. I had to do this in front of people, by the way, because the gym at the physical therapy place had other people at the time. And do it for us? Absolutely not. It's simple exercise. You put the band around your ankles. The band, you know, those exercise bands, the resistance bands, you pull them apart, tension, so on and so forth. Is it when you lay on your back and drive your dick into the air? Yep, that one. You put the band on your ankles, you lay on your back, plant your feet on the ground with your knees up a little bit, spread your legs a bit, and then you just thrust upward. So suggestive, but you actually feel it right in your glutes, so I guess that's what physical therapy is for. It's called hip thrust. Yeah, I know. I've been doing it to your mom since I was 12. Your mom's a pedophile. Sorry, I didn't logic that one out in my head fully. I'm sorry. That's not true. That's a joke. Stop. Okay. Okay. We're back. Hello. Shu said something? What did Shu say? Hold on. From the I just bought my first house paid promos to selling themselves as a solution of poverty. I have many things to say about OnlyFans, only a few of them are good. Kiss that 99-cent ramen goodbye and say hello to endless opportunities from OnlyFans. And then it's a thing right here. I think I understand the negativity here a little bit. It's not too bad, but yeah. I can understand the aversion. Why? I'm confused. Only a small percentage of people on OnlyFans actually make a fuck ton of money, which is the case for any service like that. So the advertisements just, it's like, hey, a lot of people are poor, you just turned 18, quickly come make pornography and appeal to like desperate dudes online to pay through your college tuition, you know? Yeah, it's like Uber. Now, of course, in OnlyFans, you have the potential to become rich, which is not the case for Uber, but it's like it's a further commodification, gig economy type dealio. I don't have an issue with sex work at all, but it being combined with the economic incentives and pressures that lead into it, I can understand some trepidation there. Does that make sense? It's not that making porn is bad. Certainly not. It's like, come on, you just turned 18. College is going to be expensive. Come on, come on, come on. Anal bead video. Let's go. Like that kind of thing, you know? I can understand it. Yeah, OnlyFans can be used against people in the future, too. Of course, this isn't a moral condemnation. If you make a lot of money on OnlyFans, go queen. I say queen because I assume you're a woman just based on the demographics of OnlyFans, but yeah. OnlyFans is 21 plus. Oh, is that true? I heard it was 18 plus. Is it 21 plus? I'm pretty sure it's 18 plus. Yeah, no. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's 18 plus. Anyway, yeah. I don't like the phrase selling yourself. Well, you're always selling yourself if you work, but yeah. NB Girl, thank you, but you should send that to White Nervosa. White Nervosa manages the website. She has to learn to formulate her takes better. I agree that Shiwan Head doesn't always do the best at delivering her perspectives. I'm just saying, being a little bit charitable here, I understand where she's coming from. Also, I've talked about it with her in private, so I know exactly where she's coming from. I'm not inferring, I actually know what she means. Yeah. Anyway, let's finish this. Hold on. Posada Sean, thank you for the very kind 2 gifted tier 1 subs, comrade. I really appreciate that. Yes, one hopes. Chi B Dots, thank you for the tier 3 sub. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. Ace Vania, thank you for the tier 1 sub. You're all being encouraged to drink water and stay hydrated, which is actually a good idea for me too. Hold on. Darth Nihilist, thank you for the very kind $5. Do you consider religious lefties true leftists? Yes. I maintain my discomfort with spiritualism, mythicism, superstition, and what have you, but of course they are. How could they not be? Hector Lloyd, thank you for the very kind $10. Pirandeo Kruger, thank you for the $5. Congrats on your first vaccine, comrade. Eccentric Mudkip, thank you for the very kind tier 2 sub. Now here's the hot take. Is Lady Demetris more or less hot after her transformation? I prefer her before, but that may be because I'm a coward. Far Eastern Myth, thank you for the very kind $10. Ultra-Orthodox Jews are a huge politically active group in Israel that don't have to have jobs and are on welfare. They can get jobs and pay for Iron Dome. Wait, what? Are ultra-Orthodox Jews given welfare for being ultra-Orthodox Jews? Is that true? Yes? Huh? Okay. I'll have to read up on that. Urara. Thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. I really appreciate that. Hey Vosh, I know C-Woman, the Midwestern Giga Chad that sent that donor last night. She forgot to ask, would you debate Obama? Much love from the Midwest. I would love to debate Obama. Get Obama to email me and we'll set something up ASAP, okay? Guaranteed. God. A few more donos, but let's cut ahead of them real quick because there's something else that I want to go over too. Our stream took a different turn than I expected, but we can still look at this. Hold on. Look at something a little bit constructive. Orthodox Jews hate the government because they force them to do military service? There's probably a lot of complicated stuff here that I'm not fully familiar with. Jeez. I gotta edit my lighting in here too. How many Voshes could take down a Lady Demersu? Probably quite a few Voshes. We'd need at least 10 or 15. You all should, I've said this before, but I really do have to rep it. You people really, really should be watching the video game streams. I know the politics are always going to get a higher view count, but we pretty much end up talking about politics the whole goddamn time during the video game streams anyway, I think it's pretty good content. Honestly, I think it's much funnier than any of the stuff that I do here. I know people like the politics. I know, I get it, but it's fun, It's fun. When Europe, Vosh, have mercy on me? Yeah. That's true, the time slot's different. I could try doing morning video game streams, but yeah. Blair White's boyfriend makes some pretty gross content. Yeah, did you see that video that I retweeted of him calling Blair White the T-slur? Or not call it wasn't calling her the T-slur. It was just referring to trans people as the T-slur, like in reference to Blair White, but it wasn't like a direct. Yeah. Top 10 hottest T-slurs of 2020. Interesting. Now, this is what people mean when they say T-slur. Well, Blair hates herself, so Blair probably thinks that she's blessed to be chased by a transphobe, And she doesn't deserve better or whatever. Your acetone? What is acetone? Nail polish remover. No, I haven't seen any acetone. This is TOS on Twitch. Oh, never mind. This is TOS on Twitch. All right, we're close. Okay, there. No more TOS Arena. We're free. How about we not look at that? And instead, we talk about politics. Pretty crazy, right? I know I'm I'm breaking new ground here, but I think you're getting ahead of me, Jack Black, just a little bit. But I feel like that might actually be a super cool idea, you know? Think of the potential. A Vosh stream where you talk about politics. That is just wild, you know? So, look at this. You gotta love these news days. New, a since deleted, shut up, video from 2019 shows Marjorie Taylor Greene harassing AOC's office through a locked door. MTG was an AOC reply gal back before she even got elected, calling her crazy eyes and telling her through the office's mailbox slot to get rid of your diaper, while telling the office to open the door and come out. Please look at this. This is an elected official now.
You want to talk to Crazy Ocasio? You come to this little thing and you open it up and you whisper into her. Session. This is confession. This is Ocasio confession right there.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm an American citizen. I pay your salary.
Hey, I just have a quick question. Real quick question. I don't know if anyone here has an answer. Why do we let people like this get up to the office doors of Congress people? I feel like the working area for Congress people should be behind like several security checkpoints.
Through the taxes that you collect from me through the IRS, because I'm a tax-paying citizen of the United States. I'm a woman, I'm a female business owner, and I'm proud to be an American woman. And I do not support your socialist policies, and I do not support your murderous abortion policies. As a mother of 3 children, I'm appalled at New York's law for abortion, and it needs to end, and it needs to stop now. You're bringing God's judgment on our country, and I'm against it as well.
This woman now has the same political power as AOC, by the way, at least in terms of her congressional role.
As my friends. So you need to stop being a baby and stop locking your door and come out and face the American citizens that you serve. If you want to be a big girl, you need to get rid of your diaper and come out and be able to talk to the American citizens instead of us having to use a flap, a little flap.
But you're the one using the flap.
She's like, she keeps flapping her gums.
Oh, flappy, flappy.
Okay, look.
This is like child
This
games.
is child session.
Hello there.
Hello. Hashtag, where's AOC? I hear you in there.
Serious? Wait, are there really not like security guards that can like walk into the hall and like say fuck off to these? Are you just allowed? Could I go to DC and just like find a congressman I don't like and just like scream into the mailbox as hard as like the little mail window slot? Can I just do this? Am I allowed? Can we do it to senators? Where's Matt Gaetz? Where's Ted Cruz? Where's Madison Cawthorn? Give me.
Creepy.
It's hide and seek.
This is, huh?
Hide and seek.
It's hide and seek. Tag, you're it. Guess what? You can't stay in there for.
CNN said they had them following around. Okay, if security's here, I don't think they should be allowed. I'm sorry. Pardon me for sounding like an authoritarian anti-democrat here, but I don't think random people should be able to scream at Congress people while they're doing their job through a fucking... I know none of these people have guns on them. It's not like this is necessarily a security threat. I just don't think it should be allowed.
Forever. Can you come out and play?
All right, so we were...
What if they have weapons, though? They went through a security checkpoint to get here. They don't have weapons.
I guess she got the message before we came here, because if you want to come to visit the socialist, communist,
You're a very good artist.
I'm just
Holy shit, is that Keemstar?
Good artist.
I'm just trying to decorate, you know?
This is her book where we sign it.
This is her sign-in book, and I'm just signing in.
Should we draw a wall? Should we draw a wall?
Yeah,
Let's draw a wall. Where's it? Is there another pen? We really want to draw a wall. So let's draw what a wall looks like, everybody. This is a wall.
Imagine doing this and saying that AOC is the one who looks crazy. They're like children. their actual children. You guys have to understand, okay, that fascism is like a kind of mental infantilism. If you actually read on how like the internal behavior of the Nazi party rang out, these people aren't like steely professionals. These people act like kids. I've said this before, but Adolf Hitler actually wanted his contemporaries to refer to him as the wolf, or whatever that is in German, and got insulted when they wouldn't. He would get upset if the media was mean to him, and he would sulk. He would sometimes sleep until noon. It does it to people. It's a mental regression that Marjorie Taylor Greene clearly didn't need any help with, considering she wasn't that bright to begin with. Yeah. Anyway, you know, AOC responded to the publicization of this video. The fact that Kevin McCarthy, the House GOP leader, stripped Justin Amash of all committee seats for criticizing Trump, but has worked to protect this person, MTG, also known as Grinning Titan, from consequences, including pretending he doesn't see it, tells you that what is happening with the support of GOP leadership. And then additional info comes out. Among Greene's associates with her is Anthony Aguero, who was among the Capitol mob on January 6th who went into the building. So of the two people who went to the door to harass AOC and like yell at her and tell her to put a diaper through, one of them became a congresswoman and the other one was arrested for storming the Capitol building. Can't stay in there forever. Come out and play. Yep. Spectacular stuff. And AOC rightly says, if the shoe were on the other foot, the GOP would be calling for my expulsion. When is this from? I mean, these tweets are from today. AOC calls her unwell. Uh-oh. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, no.
Just about the whole situation with Marjorie Taylor Greene, is there any aspect to that? There's obviously more clips that have been uncovered of her. Yeah, it seems as though she had been posting some video. I mean, this is a woman that's deeply unwell and clearly needs some help.
Hey, you all get mad at me when I describe my debate opponents as crazy. You call me ableist, but when AOC does it, you people are okay with it? Half the people I debate, this is how I feel after I talk with them, you know? Or like when I'm talking with them. They're saying shit, and I'm like, do I respond with a debate point, or do I encourage them to get therapy, or... AOC's repping my tactics here, okay? You don't say unwell. Hey, if AOC wasn't a congresswoman, if AOC was still a bartender, she wouldn't be saying unwell either, okay? She'd be saying fucking crazy-ass bitch, all right? But AOC is a congresswoman now, okay? I'm not! Different standards.
You know, and her kind of fixation has lasted for several years now. You know, it's at this point, I think, the depth of that unwellness has raised concerns for other members as well. And so, you know, I think that this is an assessment that needs to be made by the proper professionals.
She said she wasn't going to stop debating you when asked was yesterday or challenging you in a debate.
Yeah, you know, it's she does keep discussing this, but it's not a thing, you know, and so I'm concerned about her perceptions of reality.
Just one last question. Before all this blew up in the hallway previously, did you ever have like a conversation with her previously that was not as well?
I mean, a couple of weeks ago, she approached me on the floor of the house. But aside from that, no. This is just kind of come from nowhere.
I love that. AOC doesn't even pretend to take MTG seriously. She's just like, I don't know, man. She's kind of crazy, you know, just like she's like obsessed with me and like, I don't know. I don't want to. I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene has an advanced case of AOCDS. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Concerned with her perception of reality, see that's less bad, Vosh. I'm not a congresswoman. Jesus. Is she ever going to be expelled from Congress? Why would she be? Marjorie Taylor, I hate to say it, guys. Marjorie Taylor Greene only acts crazier than the rest of the Republican Party. She's not any crazier in terms of the actual position she holds. Look at Trump. Jesus. Did you see Trump's presidency? It's ridiculous. He's a clown. I know this is like a talked out point when you actually look at it though, like in retrospect, now that we have Biden and Biden's, like a old guy, professional kind of dude, and you look back at Trump as he's a lunatic, but they all supported him. From the moment he ran, Donald Trump was clearly not well. Pathological narcissism. I mean, lying about the size of your inauguration crowd. First day you're a president and you publicize and defend a factually disprovable lie. You could, like, something that you can actually just immediately and evidently disprove. But he did it anyway, and nobody cared. Nobody cared. Didn't matter. Nobody cared. This is what Republicans are, okay? I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'll say it as many times as I need to, okay? Their positions are determined not by logic, but by emotion. Everyone's positions are determined by emotion by a little bit. I'm not saying every Democrat is some hyper-logic lord, but for them, it is a deep-seated, pathological, virulently emotional response to everything. There is no internal engagement whatsoever, which explains their behavior. And MTG, I think, is just the logical next step of this point, Initially, you have a Republican Party that is driven in large part by contempt of minorities. I mean, you say 50, 60 years ago, after the party switched, the Southern strategy, you have them driven in an almost logical way. Not that hatred for minorities is logical, but the way in which they enact their positions feels like it follows a cohesive thread. But it's fallen apart with time. And you can only sell insane conspiracy theories to old boomers for so long before eventually they start voting off those crazy conspiracy theories. See, that's the problem with a democracy. In an autocracy, you can say whatever crazy shit you want to the population. They don't vote new people in. You're in charge. You can maintain control. But in democracy, you feed the population crazy bullshit. Eventually, they're going to start voting in crazy people reflective of the shit that you've given them. That's why democracy and republicanism don't go hand in hand, actually. They don't work very well. So the crazy is here to stay. I'm just hoping, and this is what I really, really hope. I mean, I think about this often. I really hope that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are evidently unwell enough to push people who were previously in the Republican Party more towards being an independent. Clarify you're not for autocracy, Lamau. I'll keep it ambiguous so that the absolute degenerate brainlets who can't figure it out immediately by the tone of my voice, have something to play with, the way that a cat would sort of bat at a stupid jingly toy. That's you. That's your confusion in this moment. I hope you have fun with it for years. The hope is that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump and what have you push these more moderate Republicans to the center. I just don't know how much that's going to happen, really. It's about 40% of the Republican Party thinks the election was stolen. What is it, 40, 50? There is a group of people in the Republican Party who could potentially be swayed by sufficiently abhorrent behavior on the part of the Republican Party. Well. Oh, a final follow-up to that, by the way. An interesting study came out. Somebody emailed this to me. It came out last month, so it's not new, but a new study draws a line from January 6th to Charlottesville. It's a study, sort of a meta-analysis of previous pieces of information about the nature of the January 6th Capitol riot, which talks about the demographics of the people involved. There are some really interesting points in here that I want to go over, okay? Robert Pape is a political scientist at the University of Chicago who specializes in the study of various security threats. He did a research bit in Washington Post, published a column on this. The Chicago Project on Security and Threats, or CPOST, working with court records, has analyzed the demographics and home county characteristics of the 377 Americans from 250 counties in 44 states arrested or charged in the Capitol attack. Those involved are, by and large, older and more professional than right-wing protesters we have surveyed in the past. They typically have no ties to existing right-wing groups. But like earlier protesters, they're 95% white, shocker, and 85% male, and many live near and among Biden supporters in blue and purple counties. Nor were these insurrectionists typically from deep red counties. Some 52% are from blue counties that Biden comfortably won. But by far the most interesting characteristic common to the insurrectionist background has to do with changes in their local demographics. Counties with the most significant declines in the non-Hispanic white population are the most likely to produce insurrectionists who now face charges. C-Post also conducted 2 independent studies in February and March, including a National Opinion Research Council survey to help understand the roots of this rage. One driver overwhelmingly stood out: fear of the Great Replacement. Great Replacement theory has achieved iconic status with white nationalists and holds that minorities are progressively replacing white populations due to mass immigration policies and low birth rates. Extensive social media exposure is the second biggest driver of this view, our surveys found. Replacement theory might help explain why a high percentage of the rioters hailed from counties with fast-rising non-white populations. So, what makes this interesting to me, this actually completely disproves the bullshit people were saying about the January 6th Capitol riots being some sort of working class populist thing of people rising up against their government. The primary motivator here had nothing to do with working class antagonism. These demographics were disproportionately older, wealthier, more professional. It was racism. Racism did it. Now, I knew that because I don't hold on to this delusion that right-wing fascists are actually just working class heroes. There are people, like Jimmy Dore types, who talked about the Capitol riot like they were, like, no, they're just sick of all the corruption in DC, and yeah, maybe they're wrong about the election stuff, and maybe Biden really did win, but you can't ignore their working class animosity. No. It was a new Charlottesville, except instead of it being a combination of existing far-right groups, it was the creation of a new one. People united in a pathological obsession with maintaining conservative control of government so they can keep brown people out of this country. That was the primary motivator. It always has been. Building the wall at the southern border, the Muslim ban, Black Lives Matter. Trump's presidency has always been about racial animus. Comparatively, he spoke about like working class issues very, very scarcely. And by the way, if you want to be a big working class guy and all you got to talk about is the Rust Belt, you can fuck right off. The most obvious and evident working class demographic are people who live in the inner city who are working minimum wage jobs, often people of color. If you're some working class hero and you're only referring to the working class as the 65-year-old white men in oiler towns, then you're talking about white people. You're not talking about the working class. Now, those people are part of the working class, sure, but if you're only focusing on them, no. So I like this survey because it makes so obvious what we already knew, which was that there is no allying with the right on this. There isn't some underlying working class animus that we can unite on. Maybe for some of them. Maybe for portions. But the types of people who engage in that behavior? No. No. They just want fewer white people in the country. Pretty much been all the Republican Party's been about for like 50, 60 years. Jesus. Would you please do a Politics 101 on critical race theory, please? I feel like I talk about it so much and it never sticks, really. But wait, what did I say? Oh, no. Did I say fewer white people when I said fewer non-white people? Tempest! Cut that in a way to make it... No, just include this segment. Just stop here. I meant non-white people, obviously. I misspeak all the time. Just include it here. Okay, now cut. Camera's shaking that just for me. No, I have my camera on a super unsteady mount. It's always been that way. Well, thanks for humoring me, folks. Cut now, Tempest. Do it. Tempest, do it. Tempest, cut it now. All right. Let's finish up with donos and relax for a little bit. Lurtz, thank you for the very kind tier 2 sub. Thank you, I appreciate that. And likewise, Hexstrider, happy to have you. Sake Tanuki with the $10. MTG is the overbaked version of Jimmy Dore. That's how far you go. They're both obsessed with AOC. Title Punk Roller Girl, thank you for the gifted tier 1 sub. Same cake day, same hat. Waterboy 500 and Illa Devine, thank you for the $5 both. I really, really appreciate that. Sorry, Illa Devine. Well, maybe you'll be able to watch the VOD later. Yes, Waterboy, I try to stay entertaining during the video games. Robert Heim, Robertheim, maybe. David Sheen is a journalist who's made great videos about Israeli politics. I could give them a look, yeah. Porno Godzilla, thank you for the very kind $6. New Ben Garrison hit? Let's see. What? Woke Disney. No Trump supporters allowed. Vaccinated only. Pronoun train with like a little Rocky Picture Horror Show face up on the front. Trans station. Antifa land is on fire. Take your Snow White privilege and get out of here. And Mickey Mouse is punching Donald Duck. We would never say the M word. What is the M word? Socialism go round, free ride. Black Lives Matter horn. Hey, wait, that's awesome, though. There's an Illuminati thing in the back. Oh, there's the Illuminati. Gotta have that. Cool. Sure. Sociable G with the $5. Michael Brooks in Israel / Palestine. Rest in peace, Michael Brooks. Yeah, you know what? It's a good fucking bit. Make sure to honor Michael Brooks' memory by listening and donating. That's a joke. Just listen.
Hi.
Hi.
So my first question, it says on your Twitter that you're Jewish. Am I getting this right?
No.
Is it the right Twitter?
On my Twitter bio, it says I'm Jewish?
No, but like in your tweets. I don't want to be wrong.
I have Jewish background. I'm just trying to think of...
Okay, so as someone with a Jewish background...
Yes.
How do you feel about Bernie's plan for Israel, especially as someone concerned with foreign policy?
I love it. It's absolutely necessary. My Jewish values teach me to oppose apartheid.
Base.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you elaborate, please?
I mean, there really isn't that much to elaborate on. I mean, has anybody ever been not only to Israel but also to the? Have you been to? Have you been to the West Bank? Have you been to Gaza?
Yep.
You went to Gaza?
I went to the border.
Oh, okay. But not to Gaza.
You can't be in Gaza.
Well, I know people who've gone to Gaza. You could definitely go to Gaza. So for me, my politics are built on a base of, economic justice and actually,
I saw
really
Destiny's Reddit getting really mad at this video.
In some ways, as distinct from some of this sort of woke stuff in a way. But when I was already, I grew up, I was pretty connected to left politics, so I always knew growing up about the travesty that was the human rights situation there. And I knew that people I admired, like Nelson Mandela said, South Africa is going to not be properly free until the Palestinians are free. In 2006, I believe, I read a piece by a guy named Tony Judt in the New York Review of Books, who was a really important Jewish scholar. And he just said, the argument was that, literally this is childish. The idea that you have an ethno-state or a religious state, if you're committed to any type of broad-based social, economic equity and civil society, it doesn't work. No matter how justified, right? Of course there's justification because of Jewish history for Israel. There's justification for Kurdistan because of Kurdish reality. There's justification for Pakistan. It's notable that Israel and Pakistan are both disasters. Israel not in the sense of, you know, look, if you're a European Jewish background, you have a nice life there. If you're not, you are, even inside 67 borders, not a fully equal citizen. And the situation in the West Bank is, I mean, it is literally Jim Crow-like, and Gaza is, I mean, it's just an atrocity. So that's not something that anybody could reasonably ask me to support. And I understand, you know, yeah, there's some actions from some Palestinian groups that, you know, we can condemn. In fact, those have not even really been in any way seriously in play since like 2003. And when we talk about, you know, look, and the apartheid word specifically is both used by people who were crucial in ending apartheid in South Africa, like Desmond Tutu or Ronnie Kasrils, who served as intelligence minister under Mbeki, who I've interviewed. And the other main people who use the apartheid word are Ehud Olmert and Ehud Barak. So it is what it is. And I don't support second-class citizenship and occupation and sieges for anybody, no matter who they are.
Are you not concerned about the binary between either condemning Israel entirely, being like also a stance that a lot of like very strong and notorious anti-Semitic people agree with, versus like, you know, seeing this as more of a complex issue where it is wrong what's going on, and there's also a way to do this that Israel still exists and is supported?
So
it's
not a complex issue. That's the big thing. It's super simple. There's one group that has enormous power. It's the most powerful country in the Middle East. It's backed by the United States. It acts on another population of people with total impunity and is never held accountable for anything. So there's no symmetry in the relationship, period. And just as like a thought experiment, IDW people, if we know that if somehow a population of Jewish refugees ended up in West Bank and Gaza, and an Arabic government in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv had an open-air prison in what, you know, Jewish Gaza, which they bombed with white phosphorus. They killed civilians indiscriminately, and they had no provisions for medicine. They had an embargo that blocked food, that electricity wasn't running, that there was an over 48% unemployment rate, life expectancy and malnutrition statistics were horrifying. One of the major policymakers in this hypothetical Arabic Palestinian state said, we need to put those Jews on a diet. In the West Bank, there was another Jewish area where there was a little bit more autonomy, but there was regular Arabic settlements where they pulled up the Jewish farmers' foods, they terrorized them with rocks, the security forces broke children's bones, and they couldn't drive on their own roads. We'd all have no problem understanding what that was. So there's nothing complex about it. The second part of your question, it's a pure asymmetry relationship. And the question is rights or not. So that's it. It's not complicated. The second part of your question, at this point, there's always going to be crackpots who are anti-Semitic who condemn Israel. That's not what drives the movement, particularly in the United States. If you work around most people who are concerned with this issue, it's actually populated with a lot of Jewish people. The real question we have to ask is, why is it that AIPAC is hosting an information minister for Slobodan Milosevic? Why is it that there's relationships between the Israeli government and far-right parties in Europe? Why is it that Benjamin Netanyahu's son is posting borderline alt-right memes? Mm-hmm. Why is it that Israel is an alt-right state, even though it is from the descendants of the victims of one of the greatest crimes in history? That's a serious question, and that's inseparable from the racism of the project, which goes back to the first part that we have to solve. But thank you. Shalom. And I am serious about it coming from Jewish values. Like Tony Judd, my reading, to the extent I do, which I actually do have some connection to that in a religious sense, it's unacceptable for me. But yeah, no, I know. We'll but it's not complicated.
Nice. Want some VDS from GGG? No, DGG and Destiny are going to do the Mike from PA thing where they obsess over me fastidiously because it helps drive them content. Can you believe that Destiny's community found a way to get mad over that bit? from Michael Brooks. I mean, he's a lefty. Yeah. What'd they say? I think they were calling it reductive or something. What even happened to them? All the good people left or got banned. Oh yeah, there's the link. Oh my god, words. I'm not going to read that much just for the sake of shitting on the Reddit. Oh yeah, hey, speaking of Reddits, you know what you people need to do? You know it'd be super cool, okay? You people need to go over to the elite subreddit, Vosh V, okay? So I can steal your memes when you post them. Look, I'm holding Artemy in a little trash waste paper basket. Look, see? Weekly OK Buddy segment? No, not no, 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 it's not. Any thanks to give the tier 1 sub. Vashio with the incredibly kind $20. I really, really appreciate that, comrade. Thank you very, very much. Markinator, thank you for the $5. Jacob Israel Dehan, he was pretty poggers. I can give him a look. High Progressive with a very kind $10. Made some fan art. Hope you like it. Oh, shit. Damn. That's good. That's good. That's worthy of my page. True. And Habis with a very kind $10. Since you stream to multiple platforms, try out scaleengine.com. They use open source software, and you can poke one of the founders, Alan Judd. Sure, I can give it a look. Though I think I have a pretty workable solution at the moment. I think that right now what I've got going on works pretty well. Set it as your Twitter profile pic. I'll strongly consider it. Anyway, I love you all very much. We're going to end stream a little bit early today because I got 3 hours of sleep, and I'm slowly rotting. But, yeah. I love you all very much. Please take care of yourselves. And, yeah, be well, okay? Wait, who are we rating? Who did we do last time? Between the two of them. Who did we more recently raid, chat? The Surfs or Lumi was most recent? Okay, the Surfs TV this time then. All right, go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Nice. Very good meme. All right, people. Love you all very much. Take care of yourselves, okay?